The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hey, welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. It is a Festivus version of Running Point. We don't have a poll, which is a damn shame because maybe Dwayne Haskins would appear on the show if we had a stripper poll here. But that's another story for another time. Came out hot. I'm sorry. I'm coming out firing bullets right now.
You got your back fixed, and now you're feeling feisty.
Yeah, now I'm feeling a little frisky. Yeah, so no stripper poll, so Dwayne Haskins won't be here today. I'm not doing a feat of strength because I'm still not allowed to lift anything. Not that it would be an impressive feat of strength. But the airing of the grievances, oh yeah, I think Anthony and I can do that.
We got some grievances.
We got a lot of grievances.
And hey, that's the first thing. That's how you kick off Festivus, if I
That's it.
remember right.
As the late Jerry Stiller once said, I got a lot of problems with you people.
I got that guy was a comedic genius, but besides the point.
We will have we'll have Brian Driscoll on at 12:20, and
That brings up one of my grievances.
Well, and that's, if I'm going to have some truth serum in me, and I've been saying this for a while, the biggest gripe that I have with the NCAA right now is the fact that you have basically alienated the mid-majors from any part of the Power 5 conference, to the point where I just as soon rather sit back and say, starting in 2021, I'll let the mid-majors and the FCS combine together. Don't have 85 scholarships. Let's now lower that to 80. Raise the roof for the FCS schools. Lower it a little bit for the mid-majors. Work on a number like, say, 80. If you want to go 85, all right, that's fine too. And then just sit back and go, okay, here you go, guys. We're lumping you all together, and we're going to give you a 2014 playoff. Good luck. Have fun. And we'll use the bowls that aren't the major bowls to be part of the playoffs. And the major bowls will go with the Power 5, have an 18 playoff, and we'll do the we'll do an 18 playoff based on the big bowls, and then have a national championship game. The two national championship games can be back to back. Let's have some fun, and we'll crown two champions, because it is obviously clear to me, and it should be clear to anyone with a half a brain, that mid-majors are not invited to a party that they probably should have been invited to.
And look, I don't want to say it's not quote unquote fair, because I get it, because like the teams Cincinnati plays don't compare to the.
No, you're right. You're right.
And I get where that's coming from, but I think there should be a little bit more respect given to an undefeated season. I don't care who you're playing. You go undefeated, that means you've beaten all the teams that know your system, played you every year. Those are hard to beat. I don't care what conference you're in. Conference games are harder than most games. So I think if you go undefeated, then that should be a little bit of a tip of the hat to you. Not just say you're ninth and you're gonna be on the back.
You're an afterthought.
But I get it. If you get like the game by game comparison, Cincinnati's wins just aren't as valuable as Notre Dame's wins, because they're coming against
they're not getting the Power 5 conference.
East Carolina,
Absolutely.
the American. So I get it. So I don't want to say it's not fair, but at the same point, I think there should be some kind of some kind of respect given to an
Now,
undefeated season.
now let me ask you: do you think the American Athletic Conference was better than the Pac-12 this year?
Yeah, but the Pac-12's not in the playoffs either. So
Well, no, but the Pac-12 is part of the Power Five.
right.
So if you replaced, at least for this year because of the pandemic, the Pac-12 for the AAC, would Cincinnati have gotten some friggin' respect?
So you're saying if they just considered the American a Power 5 this year?
I mean, they were better than the Pac-12
They
this
were.
year.
They were.
So,
And they
and one
finished-
can argue they were better
Well,
than the Big 12 too.
And here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Cincinnati finished ahead of any Pac-12 team.
I believe you are correct on that.
So they clearly gave more respect to the American than they did the Pac-12 because they put them ahead of any Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
That's probably the first time that a mid-major has finished above everybody in a Power 5 conference.
I see. I just and don't get me wrong. Look, if Cincinnati were playing Alabama, they'd get hosed by about
Right.
40 plus
And
points.
everybody knows it. Nobody
And-
wants to see it. But
Exactly.
I think for Cincinnati, I think they'd rather have the recognition of you deserve to be in that game
Yes.
rather than, just foregone conclusion that you're going to get blown
Yeah.
up.
And it just okay. And I understand. And I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. And I think Notre Dame will show up and play Alabama. I do. I honestly believe, and maybe this is part of me hoping that it's going to happen, and we'll get Brian's opinion on this. I think because they crapped on themselves, everyone is going to be just mercilessly banging on Notre Dame,
But-
saying, same old Irish, and they're going to be so pissed that New Year's afternoon they're going to show up and actually play a respectable game against Alabama.
Well, it's why I don't like. Sometimes I don't like the body at work argument because
Yeah.
you shouldn't be blown out and then be given the reward of being.
And
the
I don't
top
think they
four.
would have been had. If
You know what I mean?
If Iowa State had beaten Oklahoma,
Right, or if
I don't think Notre
if
Dame's
Florida
in the
didn't,
Final Four
or if Florida didn't crap themselves against LSU,
against LSU.
or
yeah.
I still think Texas A&M has a legitimate plight because I like where you're at right now based on
Yeah.
more than where you've been all season. I'm more of a where are you right now, or are you one of the better teams right now than
Yeah.
were you a good team in August or September?
Yeah, I just
So I think when I watched Texas A&M play and I just watched I just felt like they were one of the best teams in the country.
and I understand where you're coming from. I just from the Notre Dame aspect, they were a really good team all year long. Then they got just absolutely destroyed, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it went sideways pretty quickly, and it just snowballed.
I'd like to
I
see-
can't punish a program for one misstep in a full season. I think the committee understood, okay, these guys did beat some pretty decent teams in their schedule. We're going to give them a pass based on the fact Iowa State didn't get the job done, based on the fact Texas A&M got beat far worse by a Alabama team. So we got no choice in the matter since we're not giving Cincinnati any respect.
Forget a mask because usually the playoffs there's a big difference between 5 and 6. We can all agree that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some grapes between 4 and 5, but there's
Yes.
usually a big gap between 5 and 6.
There is none this year.
Let's just have a wild card round where 4 and 5 play each other. Winner goes into the 4 game. Extend the playoffs that way.
Well, either that or
Because that's usually the whole argument. Is like,
Yeah.
well, 5 should have been 4.
Yeah, either that
So
or
just-
take 6 and then just go 2 versus 6. I'm sorry, you take 6, 1 and 2 are off.
That's why I
they
don't-
go to the semifinals.
Yeah.
3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. Higher seed plays 1, lower seed plays 2.
I like that a lot, but I don't think you need 8 teams in the playoffs because I think there's not that much parity in college football. I think no one wants to see Alabama wipe the floor with an 8 seed or whatever it may be.
Now, do you do this if you
And
separate the
I feel like if
mid-majors?
5 would be fine, 6, but I would really enjoy a Notre Dame Texas A&M match.
Oh, I'd
Winner
like
goes
to
to
see
the
that.
winner goes to the playoffs.
I'd kind of like to see that. That would
So-
have been a fun game.
Kind of like a playing game for like the tournament. You get those playing games. Let's have a playing game between 4 and 5.
I just as soon have an extra week and just get the 2 and 3 seed involved in this, the 3 and 4 involved.
Because that
in
would
this
have
as
taken
well.
away the argument years ago with Ohio State and TCU. Hey, have them play each other. Let's prove who's better.
That would have been a fun game too.
So
Yeah.
definitely 4 and 5. You can include 6 if you want
Yeah.
to, but I think most of the arguments and gripes over the years have been between 4 and 5, and there's a big gap between 5 and 6. No one ever thinks, the 6 should be in.
Yeah.
We're
gonna have some fun when Brian Driscoll calls in because like I said, I'm glad Notre Dame is in the playoffs.
Of course you are.
And I'm looking forward in a sadistic way to seeing what Notre Dame can do. I mean, we've read this story countless number of times. And what's the definition of insanity?
Trying to do the same thing over and
expecting different results. Hopefully, this is not lesson number 5,465,378 lesson into insanity. But we'll see what happens.
I also think we had this discussion on Monday. I think if Cincinnati goes undefeated next year, I think they're in.
We'll see.
Because I think this year gives them that little foothold because they didn't even start in the top 25 this year, did they? When the season started.
So that's the other thing I have
a gripe with. Next year they're going to start high because they finish as long as they win their bowl game, they're going to start high. So you take care of business. You beat Georgia. Please beat Georgia. And then you start off next year. You're probably going to be in the top 10 at least, and you go undefeated. There's no argument that I think the committee could make to not put you in after you do 2 back-to-back undefeated seasons, and you've proven you can beat an SEC team.
Here's the other grievance that I have with college football, and then we'll do a little high school basketball. Excuse me. The other grievance that I have is, for the love of God and everything that's holy, can we stop with the preseason rankings? Because all you're doing at that point is just stating those of you under the top 10 or under the top 15, you have no shot whatsoever of getting into the top 4.
You got to have starting points, though. I mean,
you have a starting point on the first week of October where you have seen every single team play. That's
what they do, though, because remember, those preseason rankings don't have any fold on the playoff rankings that come out in the middle of the season.
Yeah, but they give everyone.
They're just coaches' polls and AP polls.
I get it, but
which the committee's not supposed to look at.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, they are. I mean, you can't help but look at that stuff because it's in a newspaper or if it's online or in an app that you're searching.
Just to dive into that, I wonder how many preseason top 10s have made the final college football top 10.
That would be a really good discussion, and all we have to do is go back to 2014 because
I feel like that would really put some numbers into the argument if the committee looks at the top 10 or not, or even how many top 10 AP in the beginning of the season make it to the first top 10 rankings of the playoffs.
Which is the lowest preseason ranked team that has gone into the playoffs? And I believe coming into this year it was 14 or 15. I'm not 100% sure on that. All right, we'll talk with Brian in a couple of minutes. Here's my other grievance, and it came to light last night. And this isn't in any way, shape, or form. I don't say this based on the fact that we're going to give someone a hard time, but free throw shooting is just so absolutely important in any basketball game. I was watching a very entertaining after a massacre of epic proportions in the first quarter in which East Liverpool was shooting an unbelievable percentage from the floor. I think they wound up 27-11 after the first quarter, and they wound up beating Crestview at last night 85-72. But the story of the night, the Rebels had 24 free throw attempts, and they only hit on 11 of them. Now, my take on all of free throw shooting is, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whether you're in the pros, 70% is an absolute minimum that you should be hitting from the free throw line. When you consider the fact that you're 15 feet away from the basket, you're in an exact straight line 15 feet, especially if you put the foot in which your dominant hand rests. So if you're left-handed, your left foot goes into the nail where every wooden basketball floor has a nail that is perpendicular, that is a straight line to the front of the basketball hoop. So if you put your left foot, if you're left-handed, or right foot, if you're right-handed, onto that nail or just behind that nail, behind the line, you should be able to hit free throws. 11 of 24, that's not even close to 70%. You go 70%, now you're looking at 18. Now you're looking at 7 free throws, and now you're looking at a much, much closer game to which hit a couple more shots, you win the game.
when you get recovered, I want to take you to a basketball court, and we'll give you. Let's see, how many free throws do you think kids get in a game? We'll give you 20 free throws and see if you can get 70.
14. If I had 14 out of 20.
Right. Well,
and I'm going to have to practice.
We'll do that.
I'm going to have to practice. You know.
Then if you do that, if you do it, then any high school kid should be.
I was shooting, when I was coaching the 7th grade kids, I was shooting free throws blindfolded. And
Make it like a pinata, spin you around a couple of times.
oh, hell no, I can't do that.
Now
Come
give
on.
it a shot, Rod.
That's ridiculous. You close your eyes and you go like this and hey, the ball went in. Okay, blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. No, it's not as easy as we're saying it is, but if you're practicing, if you're a basketball player, you're practicing a lot of stuff, 70% is not that big of a deal. You ought to be able to hit 14 out of 20 or 7 out of 10.
We've said it before. The problem is it's not
the sexy shot.
It's not put as a priority in the high levels of basketball. So you don't see a lot of the best college teams be good free throw shooters, and you don't see a lot of none of the NBA teams really care about their free throws.
No.
So in that's what the kids emulate because they see the people that are right on TV. And the stars of the game, that's not what they really predicate as important. So it's not going to be what the kids are working on. The kids are working on their step-back threes.
Yeah.
They're working on their crossovers. They're working on their Euro steps. They're not working on their foul shots. And you got to kind of pound into them that this wins games. Not your Euro step.
Yeah.
Not your jump stop. Not your step-back three. Your foul shooting is what wins those games.
And I just don't understand from the pros' perspective. All right, I'm getting 21 a game. All right, well, you're shooting like hell from the free throw line. Do you understand if you went 6 of 13 from the line instead of, what's 70%?
That's 13? One of the gripes I have.
9 of 13. Now you're adding 3 more points on your average.
It's one of the gripes I have about the NBA because it's not basketball anymore. It's just a show. It's a show. It's out of all the professional sports, it's the one, in my opinion, that has watered down the sport the most to entertain and to put on a show.
It's
in my opinion
the pureness of the game, and that's
why I like watching the WNBA better than the NBA because at least basketball still exists.
The intermediate jump shot, the 12 to 17, 18-foot jump shot is gone.
Defense is gone.
And defense is gone.
Even the teams that play good defense in the NBA, they're giving up like 85, 90 points a game. And it's like, I get the rules are really – but you look at their defense, and it's like, you're not playing good defense.
The other person's just blowing a lot of wide-open shots. There's a big difference between the two.
You're not even moving your feet. The guy's going right by you. I know it's a professional athlete. It's hard to kind of stop him from blowing right by you. But at the same sense, like you're not even moving your feet to try to get in front of the guy.
This is why I love watching high school and college basketball far more than I love the NBA. And I love watching the NBA, but college and high school basketball, so much better. Even
the best college teams don't have enough like star caliber to strictly rely on their talent to win games. You got to be a little bit fundamental. I know the top 10 teams in the country have 3 or 4 teams that probably will go to the NBA, but they still have the role players that have to do their job and have to be fundamentally good at basketball. So that's and I love watching. That's why I really love watching kind of the middle of the pack college basketball.
Yeah, mid majors like YSU. I love watching mid majors play. It's a great game. If it's played right, it's a really great game.
Even like I think the best ACC games are the ones that are like the middle of the pack ACC teams. You put in like a
North Carolina State and Wake Forest
versus let's say Virginia Tech basketball. I mean, they're talented.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of the flashy stuff.
Yeah.
But you're also going to see a lot of fundamental basketball because they might have 1 or 2 players that are pros, and the rest of them have to be.
I'm with you on that.
So
I'm definitely with you on that. All right, we're going to take a timeout on the other end. We are going to hear from Brian Driscoll. This should be fun.
Todd Simons, by the way, before we close up our preview of our recap of high school basketball, new member of the 1,000 Point Club. Simon says 2020, let's go.
Yeah, he's impressive.
He's great.
No two ways about that. That was fun. I'll tell you what else was impressive. South Range putting the absolute clamps on Springfield last night was damn impressive.
I called that game, and the Tigers honestly I can't break down the teams they played, but they look like that no one had pressed them really hard this season because all South Range really did was put a lot of ball pressure on them and it really frazzled them. And when their offense wasn't flowing, they got frustrated, started throwing balls away, and that's what South Range's defense will do to you. Because the Raiders' offense still wasn't great.
No,
I mean they weren't. They just made the plays that they had to make.
And I think it comes to the point where you're just like, okay, we're only going to score low 50s, mid 50s a game.
They were fine with 56.
And now we're going to have to really amp up the pressure defensively if we're going to win a lot of games this year.
56 is good if you're making the big plays in the big moments of the game. And that's what the Raiders did. They made the big plays in the big moments where Springfield was starting to come back or it was close.
Yeah.
They made the big plays in the key moments of the game to win that.
In a 32-minute game, you shouldn't be giving up more than 55 points anyway.
No.
So
not unless you're playing East Liverpool.
Well, that's good.
Or Crestview, because Crestview put up some good offense.
Wow.
Any other night, that would have been a really good offensive performance.
Crestview scored 49 points in the second half. I mean, it was fun to watch. It was a back and forth, just a fun game to watch.
Now, you were there.
After
Tell
that
me,
first quarter.
was it really good offense or like lackluster defense?
No, it was both.
Okay.
East Liverpool didn't miss in the first
What
quarter.
do you do?
It was crazy how hot they were. And I even said, good Lord, do these people miss?
And we also have round 2 of the Salem tournament today. So
yeah, this should be fun.
We'll talk more high school basketball after we get
Brian Driscoll coming up in a bit. This should be entertaining, to say the least. Stick around, more to come.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
boy is recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
Community in Niles.
We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone.
No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point. It's a Festivus version. We don't have a poll, and we're not doing feats of strength, but we are doing the grievances. Airing of grievances. Plenty of grievances. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwick. Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, you want to check out the good folks as Anthony gives his Yeti.
I always feel
Yeti
like
cup.
I'm on like HGTV. Like
Either that or The Price is Right.
Price-
You're doing one of the.
Well, I am not. Oh, I thought. Yeah, I am not one of the Price is Right models.
No,
but
no,
I think
no.
I could go on a HD, not HDTV. What am I thinking?
QVC.
QVC.
Yeah.
HDTV. We're not rebuilding a home.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we're rebuilding. I don't think Greenwood Chevrolet needs rebuilt. They're in pretty good shape.
Renovation.
Fantastic folks over there. If you're in the market for a new or slightly used automobile, check them out. They have a great sales department, great service department, and their finance department. They're solid too. So good people over there. Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue, and
Also,
Austintown.
while we're at it, we might as well give a huge thank you to WRS Insurance for, sponsoring the whole basketball season and
Boy,
making
no
it free
kidding.
for our fans. And
No kidding.
they stepped up big time and covered the cost for our streaming fees for the whole season, and that's why the fans don't have to pay for any basketball this year.
Yeah, kudos to them. That was a wonderful gesture, no doubt.
When the new year clicks and we start to get this open look, which is we're hoping to get up back with Mike Ackelson, WRS is going to be.
You
a
mean the
sponsor
birthday
of that.
boy?
The birthday boy. I wanted to.
Yeah.
You messed up my segue.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I always felt bad for the kids that were born a few days before
my
or a
dad-
few days after Christmas.
It's my dad's birthday too. It's one of those weird things. And then my cousin has a birthday on Christmas Eve. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you just get twice as many presents.
No, you don't. People
Well,
are going
some
to
people
sit
do.
back and go, "Oh, this is your birthday and Christmas gift." Whoa, wait a second.
See, I was.
I'm calling
I was-
BS on that.
I think I was born. Yeah, I was December 17th, so I was far enough away from Christmas where you still got a present on that day, and it wasn't like, hey, this counts as one of your Christmas gifts.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
But,
and if you share your birthday with someone, then you got to have one cake equals two people. No. Time out.
Ron wants the whole cake.
I want my, if we get two people that are celebrating birthdays, you better be making two different cakes.
Ron's like, get in my belly.
My name is Chevy.
Get in my belly.
Yeah, well, it's not, I'm slimming down
You're
a little
slimming
bit.
down. You can afford a cake every month.
Well,
a whole cake to yourself.
Not a whole cake, but
Java.
I'll take a couple of pieces. A couple of pieces of cake, but not a whole cake. I'm trying to slim down. Under 230 for the first time in a while. That's not bad.
You gotta have milestones, man.
Not bad at all. Tell you what else is not bad. Austintown Fitch's performance. By the way, we're waiting for Brian Driscoll. He's real busy today.
He's
I
big
don't
time,
know what's going on. I think something with Notre Dame, but he'll call
Probably
in,
since you
hopefully.
went.
Yeah, he hasn't.
There's something going on with Wake Forest, but he's
Yeah.
he's working out.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Fitch over Marlington last night, 67-41. We made mention Todd Simons joining the 1,000-point club.
Yep, Simon says.
Yeah, that was a good game and a solid win for Coach Beanie. That was very much needed. Very much needed last night.
And well, I'm excited when we were talking about the East Liverpool game. Just talking about games on the horizon. East Liverpool's next game is against Beaver Local, and those are going to be two really good offenses that have people that can really score the ball from anywhere going at it, and that's going to be a fun one to watch.
One of the things that I was really impressed with Beaver Local. I mean, here's your starting five. 5'10", he's the point guard, obviously, Toothman. And then you got four kids, 6'4", 6'5", 6'5", and 6'7". I'm like, first of all, where the hell did you get all of these tall kids? I didn't realize that. What are they putting in the Ohio River to have all of these kids be so dang tall? I mean, you had a kid 6'4" coming off the bench, 6'6" coming off the bench as well. I mean, there's some pretty tall kids with this team, and they're pretty solid from 3-point range as well. I mean, Zavea Green wound up with 26 points last night. Cole Daly wound up with 25. I think Cameron Beverly had 15. Jake Smith off the bench hit 10 points. So there's four guys in double digits. Now, Crestview, they had three guys in double digits. Drake Golden, I thought, good God, especially given the fact he's at, and I'm going to be probably a little conservative with this, at 6'2"-ish. Maybe 6'3".
That's a generous 6'2". If you're the other team, you're saying, I hope he's 6'2", and that's I think he's 6'3". I would say 6'3".
Legitimate 3, 4, and 5 inches between he and the tall timber, and he still was scoring 28 points. This kid was, especially in the second half, oh my God, 19 of his 28 points in the second half.
And then
this kid was playing some really good ball.
One of the good things for Crestview going forward, even though they lost, he got secondary scoring. I mean, Kirkland Miller, I think, was in double figures.
Yes.
Anthony Cusick was in double figures.
Yes.
So they had more than just Drake Golden scoring the ball, and that's what they're going to need going forward because, they probably won't go up against an offense like East Liverpool again. Maybe Lisbon if they get that rescheduled. But that offensive put out is going to win more games than it's going to lose for Crestview because they have a pretty solid defense most nights.
No, they do. And the one aspect of this, and I don't know, and I haven't seen how many assists he had, but Little Q, at least 10 assists last night.
Little Q.
Because I saw him feed Golden. What did he have? 9 2-point shots, most of them in the block. I would say 5 or 6 of those in the second half alone were bounce passes or pinpoint passes right to Golden in the area where it needed to be for him to get the shot. I mean, I thought it was Anthony turned the ball over a couple of times, but I thought his assist to turnover rate was through the roof. It was a solid performance, and that's the kind of basketball that Crestview is going to have to play once Trumbull County gets going, because Newton Falls and LeBray and Brookfield and Liberty, they're all going to bring it. This is a fantastic conference for basketball.
It really, especially on the boys' side, it's a lot more, lot less top heavy on the boys' side than it is on the girls. So a lot more parity and a lot more teams that can have a legitimate chance of kind of stepping up and winning that conference in the boys' side of basketball.
Yeah, it was just a solid game last night. All right, we go to the phone lines because the busiest man in South Bend, Indiana, joins us.
I don't think he's. I think there might be a couple people that are.
Well,
busy.
I don't know. I think he's pretty busy. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline welcoming in Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. My brother, what's going on?
I'm a little offended that your boy over there doesn't want to go ahead and give me the hardest working man in South Bend.
Hey, wait a minute. I think there might be a couple people that might be a little bit busier than you. No, you don't think so?
Irish Breakdown. We put out 12 stories on Monday. All of them I had to write. So, I'm not saying I'm the best worker, but nobody works longer hours.
And not to turn a little bit of a screw toward our coach, but you were obviously harder at work than he was on Saturday against Clemson. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was a rough day.
Well, look, get it out of the way, and I was telling Anthony, all right, Notre Dame is in. A lot of people are pissed off Notre Dame is in, or whatever. That's another subject that we can broach, and we will before it's all said and done. But I think that from here to January the 1st, everyone's going to be saying Notre Dame doesn't belong there. It's the same old Notre Dame. They're going to crap on their leg. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. This game isn't even going to be close. And I honestly believe, Brian, there is that chance that Notre Dame is going to just keep hearing it. And come January the 1st, they're going to play their butts off and actually give Alabama a scare.
Yeah, it's possible. Look, I wrote an article at Irish Breakdown on yesterday, actually, or actually on Monday, and the point is we don't yet know how to write the postmortem yet for the Clemson game, because if we just look at a big picture, games like this happen all the time. Ohio State lost by 29 to Purdue just 2 years ago with Urban Meyer's head coach, and the year before that, they lost by 31 to Iowa. Syracuse Clemson in 2017, the year they made the college football playoff, lost to a 4-8 Syracuse team, and the year they won the championship in 2016, they gave up 43 points at home in a loss to Pitt, an 8-5 Pitt team, right? So games like this happen. The difference for Notre Dame is these games happen too often. And for me, we don't yet know if Notre Dame has turned as a program. We don't yet know if this game is going to just completely eliminate what Notre Dame did on December 7th until the Alabama game. And if you're right, and Notre Dame goes out there and gives Alabama a game, and even if they don't knock them off, but it's just a 60-minute battle, kind of like the Florida-Alabama game was, then I think we can chalk up the ACC title game as they had a bad day. Just things didn't go well. They had a chance to go up early. They blew those chances, and Trevor Lawrence did Trevor Lawrence things, right? I think we can say that. But if they go out and get beat convincingly again, then I do think it takes really all the shine off of the 10-0 regular season, because now you can chalk it up to weak schedule, played Clemson without their 4 best players. And that's why, and that's the situation they've put themselves in because of how poorly they played against Clemson. But I think they have a chance to compete with Alabama, but they're going to have to be at their best. And, they have a lot to prove offensively in order to be there.
And I think a lot of folks that are either anti-Notre Dame or Notre Dame fans that are tired of seeing it, the thing that bothers all of us is, okay, it's one thing if you're doing this once a year when the spotlight really isn't bright. The fact of the matter is Notre Dame is doing this far more often when the lights are the brightest. And that's a trend that, as a Notre Dame fan, this bothers me. This bothers me a great deal because it tells me, okay, as long as we don't have any, quote, anything to play for, everything is all good. But the moment that this team has something to play for, now all of a sudden they revert back to a Notre Dame team that doesn't even look recognizable to fans that remember championships won in the past.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the 2 games that are considered exceptions to the blowout rule, it's the 2 Georgia games. And both of those games happened in the second and third game of the season. To your point, at that time, there's still not a ton of pressure on you as a program because it's still September or early in the season. And so I think there's merit to that. And I don't think we can dismiss this loss. All I'm simply saying is we don't yet know if that's also true about this team. This could just be a bad day. Like Auburn, beating Alabama by a couple touchdowns, 2 years ago, the year that Alabama still went, to the college football playoff. So, Clemson destroys Alabama 2 years ago in the title game. Those games can happen. The problem with Notre Dame is they happen all the time. All I'm saying is that for me, I think it's easy for me, as someone who's been critical of Brian Kelly, it would be easy for me to use that loss as sort of confirmation bias. I want to see what they do against Bama, because if you're right and they go out there and they go toe-to-toe with Bama for 60 minutes, win or lose, that tells me this program has taken another step forward. They're not where they need to be yet, but it tells me they've taken another step forward. If they get blasted again, then I think that changes the context, or that puts the Clemson context in its traditional sense, which is Notre Dame doesn't show up in these big moments. They beat up on a really weak schedule. The Clemson win was a game in which they didn't have Trevor Lawrence, which is a big deal. I kept telling everybody it's a big deal not having Trevor Lawrence, and we saw that on Saturday. And obviously their 2 best defensive players. So I just don't think that story can be completely written yet until we see what happens against Alabama.
And you've been so close to this program, writing about it all year, and I think you can answer this question better than me or Ron. When you look at how this Notre Dame team is different than the teams of the past, and we can go through their New Year's Six and their BCS losses since 1998. But as far as I'm concerned, none of those except the one in 2018 matter, because none of those players have been on the roster for those games. So when you think about what makes this team a little bit different than the Notre Dame teams in the past, do you think they can trend out of this whole don't show up in a big game storyline, or do you what makes this Notre Dame so different than the ones in the past?
I don't think we know if this team is different, and that's kind of my point. Is I don't know if this team is different. You can say the players are different, and you're 100% right. The players are different, but there is one constant: the coordinators are different, the assistant coaches are different. There's one constant going back all the way to 2012. They got blown out by Alabama to now, and that's Brian Kelly. And it's the head coach's job to get a team ready to go out and play in these big moments. And the fact of the matter is, as Ron said, when the lights have been the brightest, which is late season. So you look at the 2012 Alabama game. You look in 2015, when Notre Dame's got one loss and they got a chance to go beat Stanford, and then they blow that game. And then they go into the season and they get smacked by Ohio State. You go to 2018, 12-0. You go play in the Cotton Bowl, and they're not competitive offensively. You go to 2019. The Michigan game, spotlight, night game. And, Notre Dame is on the outside of the college football playoff ranking. If they win that game, they got a chance to make a statement the rest of the year, and they get embarrassed. And then, of course, this year, again, we see it against Clemson in the ACC championship game. So the list is long. I forgot to even mention 2017 when they got blasted by Miami when they were number 3 in the college football play. Notre Dame was number 3 in the college football playoff ranking. The players are different, but Brian Kelly is still Brian Kelly, and he has to show that he can get a team ready to play on this stage, that they can play loose, that they can turn it up, that they can just kind of say, hey, guys, let's just go out and play ball. Let's not be tight. Let's not be conservative offensively. Let's go out there and let it all hang out and give everything we got and let the chips fall where they may. And if he can do that against this Bama game, then I'll say this team is different, because this team was able to now show up and play well in 2 big games this year and won one of them. And maybe they lose the other one to Alabama, but they at least were there. I think that's going to tell me that this program is closer. This program is close to being where it needs to be. But if they get blasted in this game, then I don't think this Notre Dame team is different. Their offense is about the same as it's been in past years, points per game-wise. Their defense is the same as it's been really since the post-2016 makeover when it comes to points per game. Their record's about the same as it's been, each of the last few years. They were 10-1, at least 10-1 or better in, I think, each of the last, actually every season except for last year. They've been at least 10-1 or 11-0 at some point in time late in the year. So I don't know if we can say that it's different. That's why I think we need to wait to see what happens against Alabama. If they get blasted again, then this team isn't different. If this team goes out and gives Bama a game, then I can say this team has better leadership, this team has more competitiveness, and this team has the ability to go out there and go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the country.
Brian Driscoll with IrishBreakdown.com joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Brian, we made mention, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, the appearance of Trevor Lawrence meant so much to this Clemson team, and I think the beneficiary not only of with Trevor Lawrence being back, the passing game, even though they still threw for well over 400 yards, but I think the big winner in all of this was Travis Etienne, because Notre Dame no longer said, okay, well, we're going to shut this avenue completely out and force you to beat us with a freshman quarterback. You can't do that with Trevor Lawrence, hence the reason why Etienne was able to go for well over 100 yards on Saturday.
Well, and I think a big part of it, too, guys, was just great coaching. And what I mean by that is one of the things that I don't think Notre Dame does a great job of, Notre Dame kind of has this we're going to do what we do mentality. And that mentality to me is just you have to – it's not how you win these big games. It's just not. And, what I mean by that is, so Clemson, if you go back and break down the game, Clemson knew right away that they could not just run the ball down Notre Dame's throat. They couldn't. They didn't have the ability to do it. They don't have the offensive line to do it. Travis Etienne had 1 carry in the first quarter. So Clemson did what we talked in our podcast about last week at Irish Breakdown, what we thought they were going to do. Attack the perimeter quickly, have Trevor Lawrence do some read zones, take some 7-man protections to limit Notre Dame's pass rush. So if you go back and look at the first touchdown pass, for example, Clemson was in a 7-man protection. Notre Dame's defensive line actually got good penetration against the Clemson offensive line, but there was a back and a tight end there to step up and take on that pressure to prevent them from getting to Trevor Lawrence. That's a coaching staff that knew they couldn't stop Notre Dame's defensive line, so they had to scheme. They had Trevor Lawrence do read zones. He was doing half rolls. He was doing play actions. He was doing bootlegs. He was not just sitting back in the pocket with 5-6-man protections and hoping that they would be able to play better this game than they did the last time. That's great coaching. And so when you have Trevor Lawrence's ability to do those things with the read zones, with the quick perimeter screens, with the ability to throw the ball over top, now Notre Dame has to kind of widen their defense out, and that's where you started seeing some of those cutback lanes for Travis Etienne, either on inside zones or outside zones and things like that. And then, of course, Notre Dame had a couple guys that played well in the first game but did not play well at all this game, Sean Crawford being one, Shane Simon being another, and Notre Dame got exposed at those two positions.
Brian, how disappointed were you? And listen, I understand the offensive line, especially at the center position, not exactly the term of health, but how disappointed were you that the offensive line was manhandled on Saturday by Clemson?
Yeah, see, honestly, I didn't see it that way. I think the offensive line got outnumbered by Clemson, and the offensive line was put in a position where they, I think Josh Lugg got manhandled. I think the rest of the offensive line had good moments. I think let's not forget, Notre Dame had the ball in Clemson territory on each of their first 3 possessions. They were in the scoring zone on each of their first 3 possessions. The mistakes that were made that stopped them from scoring on each of those drives were pass game mistakes from the quarterback. You know, it was not hitting Javon McKinley on the third down before the pressure came. It was not hitting Michael Mayer on a corner route in the end zone, you know, on the second drive that then leads to a missed field goal. It was throwing late and behind Avery Davis on fourth down. Notre Dame was moving the ball early, and it was the same story we saw in the 2018 title game. Clemson recognized early on that Ian Book was not going to throw the ball downfield. And so they started loading the box. They started mixing up their coverages. They started doing things that created a lot of confusion that they couldn't do in the first game because Notre Dame was ripping off big pass plays, and they had the long run by Kyron Williams. And I don't think Kyron Williams played that great either. He had some missed cuts. So I think you look at the stats, and it looks bad. And I think if you look at Josh Lugg, it looks like the offensive line got manhandled. But I think if you break that game snap by snap down, you're going to see that Notre Dame won their fair share of battles, but there were missed opportunities at the skill positions that kept the offense from taking advantage.
Yeah, I know there's just so much excitement about the football team right now with them playing Alabama and them getting into the college football playoffs. But since we have a couple of weeks to talk about that, can we venture into Notre Dame basketball and how much have you watched of them? I know you've been really busy, as we've said before, but I think they're playing right now, as a matter of fact. I think last I saw they were up by 7. They've really had a tough start to the season schedule-wise, but they haven't lost a game by more than 10, I believe. So they've played very competitive against some tough teams. And what have you seen so far from the basketball program?
Well, I think this is a gritty team. I think this is a team that battles and competes. I think the perimeter play has been good all year, and it's really good now that Trey Wertz has been granted eligibility. He was a transfer from Santa Clara that was recently named, was granted eligibility when the NCAA said everyone could play. And I think that's a big part, a big part for Notre Dame, because the problem that this team has, if you look at it, you know, they were beating Michigan State early and then just got throttled in the second half. They were up on Ohio State by 11 in the second half and couldn't close. They've had situations like that because it's a very, very short bench. They're playing 7 guys sometimes, you know, for most of the time. And you see Notre Dame in the last 5 to 10 minutes of games just really wear out. The shots are just the shots they've been making all game are off. And that's going to come when you have heavy legs. I mean, and so getting Trey Wertz back, if they can get everybody healthy, you know, start playing Matt Zona more down in the post, I think you'll have a chance to be better because, you know, this is a team that just needs to finish better. And if they can finish better, I think they have a shot to be an NCAA tournament caliber team. But they're going to have to bounce back quickly because, you know, now you're looking at it and you're 2-4. You know, they're playing Bellarmine today. They'll probably end up being 3-4 after that win. You know, but you've lost to Michigan State, you've lost to Duke, you lost to Ohio State, you lost to Purdue. That's 4 pretty good basketball teams, right? But they got to start putting some wins together. And I think this is a team that if they can string together a couple wins in a row, and if they can figure out a rotation that allows the offense to stay fluid the whole game, because they'll go through stretches where they're moving the ball well, they're attacking, they're knocking down shots, and then they'll go 10 minutes without scoring. I mean, literally 10 minutes without scoring. And so they've got to find answers to that. And I think part of that is extending the bench a little bit more. And the other part of it is about just a team that's still learning to play together. And instead of playing a cupcake schedule that allows you to kind of get some easy wins, they've been challenged incredibly hard so far. And we're going to find out if that's going to pay off for them when they get to ACC play.
And the good news is you get into the ACC, if you can get some quality wins in that conference, that's only going to help you when it comes time to possibly being an at-large team, unless you go on a magnificent run in the tournament and win the damn thing.
Exactly. And they need that. And I think the losses they've had are going to look good on the resume down the road if they can get, you know, they're going to have at least one stretch or 2 stretches this season where they win, you know, 6-7 games in a row to get the record where it needs to be. And if you have competitive losses to an Ohio State, a competitive loss to a Purdue, a competitive loss to Michigan State, and then you've got, you know, 19, 20 wins, now all of a sudden you're looking at it saying, you know, we beat a lot of really good basketball teams. You know, we lost some really, really good basketball teams. And if you're playing your best ball come March, I think that's going to be where Notre Dame will have a chance to get in. But they got a lot to prove between now and then if we're going to be talking about them being a tournament team.
Okay, today is Festivus Day. I always like ripping stuff off from Seinfeld, and we don't have a stripper pole here. Otherwise, Dwayne Haskins would be here, but that's another story for another time. And I'm just coming off of surgery, so we're not going to do any feats of strength. But we sure as hell have gripes. We got the airing of the grievances, and the biggest airing of the grievance is the committee and the college football landscape in general. And earlier in the season, you said something quite telling, that the Power Five was coming dangerously close to separating themselves from the rest of Division I football. To which I am now ready to say, look, if the committee's not going to give any respect to the mid-majors, then let's have the mid-majors and bring the FCS along, the Youngstown States, the North Dakota States, and all the FCS schools. Give them 85 scholarships. Let them be on board with all of the mid-majors. Have a 24-team tournament with all the mid-majors. Use up the bowl games that we currently have that are not really, quote, big-time bowl games, and use those as part of the 24-team tournament. And then have the Power 5 conferences, assuming Notre Dame is staying in the ACC, even if they don't, they're an independent, they're part of this, and let these guys have an 8-team tournament where the Fiesta, the Rose, the Sugar, the Orange are going to have the first round, and then have the semifinals in the national championship game, have the mid-major national title game, and the big boy Power 5 national title game on the same day, back-to-back, and let's crown 2 champions if we're not going to even acknowledge mid-major schools in their success.
So I get what you're saying, and I think there are some merit to certain parts of this, but let me give you a counter proposal, okay? I think that you should have 2 different college footballs. I think, however, it should be more than the Power Fives. I do believe, like the American Athletic Conference, for example, should be part of that big boy college football. I've actually created a proposal because the problem with the way that you're looking at it is when you create an 8-team tournament, you have a lot less emphasis on the regular season. That's just a fact.
Okay.
As college basketball has gotten to 64, then 68 teams, and then everybody gets your shot to get in is really about the conference champion tournament. Then the regular season just doesn't matter as much in college basketball. We can admit that, right? Right now, you have the NFL where 8-8 teams, 7-9 teams. The Giants have been to a Super Bowl. Won a Super Bowl, I think, one year. They went 9-7. The Cardinals went to a Super Bowl one year. They went 9-7. The regular season in the NFL is a big deal, but it's not nearly as exciting as it is, in my opinion, as college football. College football still has the best regular season, bar none. I mean, Ohio State can lose to Purdue in October, and it knocks them out of a chance to play for a championship. So I think we need to actually combine what made college football great with this new line of thinking. And what I would do is I would go back to the old bowl system, and I'd go back to the Rose Bowl is the Big Ten against the Pac-12. The Sugar Bowl has the SEC champ against the Big 12 champ, and do that. And then, of course, you can then give the American Athletic Conference an automatic bid to the Cotton Bowl or something like that, to where their champion gets a chance to go against the champion of a Power 5 team. And you can mix it up. And then you have a couple at-larges. And then you just have the bowl games. And then from those bowl games, you take your 4 best. Because here's an example. Let's say that Cincinnati gets a chance to go to the Cotton Bowl and play Notre Dame, or they get a chance to go to the Cotton Bowl and play somebody really good. Now you've got your chance to go prove yourself. If Cincinnati then goes and beats Notre Dame or an Ohio State, or in a year where maybe Penn State won you think 2016 when Penn State won the Big Ten, Ohio State would have been an at-large in this system. You could have had Cincinnati versus Ohio State in one of those bowl games, and now Cincinnati has their chance to go prove themselves. Central Florida would have had that chance in recent years, and now you take your 4 because you're essentially going to have at least 6 to 7 teams, sometimes more, that have a chance to kind of jump into that Final Four based on the bowl game. But what we've done is we've now made the regular season more important because remember, Ron, you guys are Ohio people. You remember back when Ohio State and Michigan were great every year, and after wins, you'd have one of those teams that have roses in their mouths, or they'd be throwing roses on the field because the goal back then was to get to the Rose Bowl. That was the ultimate goal. And then the championship would take care of itself. I think if we went back to this format, you'd start seeing those bowl games matter more. Hey, we can't compete for a national title if we don't get to the Rose Bowl first. And I think that would get the regular season to stay great, but then it would also make more teams eligible for a potential Final Four because you'd have a chance to prove it on the field. It'd extend the season simply by 1 week. That's all it would do. You'd have the bowl games, the playoff, and the championship game in 3 weeks.
Okay.
There's no reason you can't do that,
Okay.
and I think it would allow us to expand it without ruining the regular season. And then you could do the same thing like you're saying with the MACs and the Mountain West and all those other schools.
I feel like we are now in the middle of tense negotiations on Capitol Hill. So if I can do my Mitch McConnell for a second, I think now
you're going to give me a stupid response then.
No.
Going to be like politicians?
No, actually, I love the idea. The only thing is, do we have these bowl games on New Year's Eve? Number one. Number two, do we have conference championships, or do we get out of the conference championships and just say, screw it, we're going to give what we believe is the best team in the conference, have one less week of the season, and have one more week for these teams to prepare for a potential New Year's Day game, and then have January the 8th or the next Saturday, the semifinals, the following Saturday, the national title, and then we're done with college football.
I think the conferences are too big now for you not to have a conference championship game. You're going to have years where you have 2 undefeated division champs. You just are. So this year, for example, let's say Notre Dame joins the ACC, and next year, Notre Dame's in the Coastal, Clemson's in the Atlantic, and they both finish 12-0, but they don't play each other. Who's your champ? You're going to go by polls. I think you still want to settle it on the field. Championship games are always over the first Saturday of December. In a traditional year, that would be the case. And then you give them 3-4 weeks to prepare for a New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day bowl games. You make them 4 games each day, right? And then you do that, or you can do 6 games each day. And then 3 games each day, 6 teams, all those kind of things. And then you have the bowl games that day, those 2 days, and then a week later you have the semifinal, and then a week after that you have a championship game, just like Division III. Once you kind of get into that, you've given them a month off. People say, well, that's too many games. That's 15, 16 games. Well, Mount Union has to play 15 games to win a national championship, and they don't get a month off after the regular season like Power 5 teams will get. So it's not too much wear and tear on them because they're going to get almost a full month before they have to play again. Because you're not going to get rid of championship games for the reason I mentioned, but also, let's be honest, they're not going to give up the money that they get from the championship game, so that's just unrealistic. So I would say you could maybe get rid of a conference or a non-conference game and go back to 11-game regular seasons. But again, teams aren't going to want to be willing to give up that money for that. So this is a thing that's actually realistic. And if they actually thought about it, this would make those bowl games far, far more relevant, which means far, far more advertising money for these Rose Bowls because, in some years the Rose Bowl doesn't really matter. And you're just getting Ohio State and Washington fans, for example, or Penn State, Washington fans. Now, if it's Oregon against Ohio State, and this is a game. Say, boy, if Oregon wins this game, that knocks out Ohio State. Now Texas A&M or Cincinnati has a shot to rise up. Now all of a sudden, there's fans of 5-6 different fan bases are now watching that Rose Bowl game.
Okay,
and I think that would make it super exciting.
The gentleman from Ohio wants to be recognized. Go, sir.
Yeah, and I agree with you that the college football puts a lot of emphasis on the regular season, and that's a breath of fresh air. I'm just wondering what you say to the people that think there's a little bit too much emphasis on the regular season, and you don't get the teams that are the best at the end of the season or the playing best right now. I mean, I have a couple of friends in College Station that are saying, we're playing better football, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I agree.
Texas A&M is hanging their hat on 1 win over Florida. But a 3-loss Florida team. Who's their next best win?
Here we go.
Auburn.
Let me just like we're saying the teams that are playing the best at the end of the season, and going back to the argument that okay, you lost in September, so we're going to use that loss against you, even though you're playing a lot better now than you are in September. Take Texas A&M and this year out of it, but over the years we've seen a lot of teams get penalized for losses in early October or September, and they might be playing.
As they should.
They might be playing really better at the end of the season. They might be saying, "Hey, we're a better team than we were then. So right now we're one of the best teams in the country." So that's not always the truth.
That's a terrible argument. College football is about what? It's about this season. So are we just going to say September games are just scrimmages? They don't really count?
No,
Ohio State got into the first college football playoff, right, with a 14-point home loss to a 500 Virginia Tech team. They still got in.
Look, but that's like saying Clemson's not the same team they were when they lost to Notre Dame. So they're not the same exact teams.
But they are. They're the same team because you get a chance to prove it on the field. Clemson got a chance to prove it on the field that they were better without injured players. And you're talking about a different situation. The committee has always taken into account when a team loses because they were shorthanded. They've always looked at that. They've said they look at that. So if Texas A&M lost to Alabama because Kellen Mond and DeMarvin Leal and Isaiah Spiller were injured, they would look at that loss to Alabama differently. That was a healthy Texas A&M team. They got blasted by Alabama. Do you really know if Texas A&M is better now than they were then? You have no idea if they're better now because now they're playing Tennessee, who stinks. They're playing Auburn, who just fired their best win of the time where they're quote-unquote playing better, came over a team that fired their coach. Are they really that better? If Notre Dame didn't have to play Clemson again and everybody was just looking at what they did kind of at the end of the year, so because Notre Dame lost to Clemson late, that means their season is less important or less successful because of a team that lost in September? That's an argument made by teams who are pissed that their team didn't get in. Handle your business. That's what makes college football great, because if you stop making September matter, then who watches football in September? Why do teams play in September?
I think
it's a long season. It's like this. It's no different than any other sport. If a basketball team goes out there in the first half of the year and plays like garbage, they may be the hottest team in the NBA by the end of the year, or the last month of the NBA, but if they're a game out from the 8 seed, they're not getting in the play. You'll say, well, they did play really well at the end. No. You get your shot to prove it on the field. Whether you prove it in September, October, November, or December, you get your shot. If Texas A&M didn't get boat raced by Alabama, and if they played a more competitive schedule, they didn't have to play Georgia this year, right? That's the problem with the SEC. When you have 14 teams, you don't always have the best teams play each other. Their record, there's nothing about Texas A&M that says they were deserving of being in the college football playoff. They won 8 games. Now, if you want to say maybe they get in over Ohio State, that's fine. But Ohio State didn't lose to anybody. Texas A&M did. They had their chance in September and October, and they got blasted. And then the rest of their schedule was kind of average. So you can't tell me that they were definitely one of the best teams because they beat up on a bunch of mediocre teams. Would Notre Dame have a loss if their last 5 games was against the same 5 teams that Texas A&M played in the last 5 games? No, they would not. They'd be 11-0 right now.
Right? I just think there's a nice balance where you can still have September matter, but then also take into account that teams do change over the course of a season.
So what if your big win is in September? So if they would have beat Alabama and then lost to Auburn, would I have been able to say, well, the win over Alabama didn't matter because it was in September?
It just takes a little bit of shine off that win because obviously you're not playing as well as you were when you beat Alabama.
It's an entire season. You can't say this part of the season matters more than that part of the season. That is just a really bad argument because why does the end of the season matter more than the beginning of the season?
Because it's where you are now.
When teams get a month off, to prepare for a bowl game, it doesn't really matter who's hot at the end of the year. That's just an excuse that teams that really didn't handle their business use. And it's also not how the College Football Playoff Committee has handled business. Notre Dame lost the game early in September against Georgia in 2017, but they handled their business on the field, which got them all the way up to number 3 in the College Football Playoff rankings. And then guess what? They lost again, and they got knocked out. The committee is going to reward you on who you are for the whole season. Oklahoma in 2015 passed Notre Dame in the College Football Playoff rankings, even though Notre Dame won. Why? Because they felt at that time Oklahoma was playing better than other teams. So they handled their business, but they still took into account the loss they had. The committee has done a good job of evaluating the entire season, and they do look at different context things. But at the same time, you have to take into account what a team did early, because if you're going to negate big losses early, then you then also have to negate big wins early. And that's just a really bad way of looking at it. You are who you are. Whether you're hot at this point or hot at that time, it's not about getting the hottest team in the playoff. It's about getting the best team. And just because you may be hot the last 3 weeks doesn't make you one of the best teams in college football.
Brian Driscoll joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Okay, so we're going to use your system for a second, and if we're delegating the Rose Bowl as the typical Big Ten versus Pac-12, how are the other bowls going to work out? So the Sugar Bowl is always an SEC. Is it the ACC or at large for the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Cotton Bowl? How do we want to work this?
I personally would like to kind of see them break it up a little bit where you're not having a bunch of conference champions play each other, because then I think we kind of get into some of the same problems we've had before. I like the notion of, put the SEC in the Sugar Bowl, put the Big 12 in the Fiesta Bowl, put the ACC in the Orange Bowl. And then you can have your group of five, your best group of five team, or go to your AAC champion, and then they get into, one of those bowl matchups. And then you have at-larges. So, there could be years where, like this year, for example, Texas A&M would get its shot. To your point, Texas A&M would get its shot. They could play, they would get a shot against Oklahoma, or they'd get a shot at maybe Notre Dame, or whatever the case may be. They'd get a shot at, Clemson in the Orange Bowl, that kind of thing. And then now you have your at-larges, and now you have a chance to kind of go prove yourself. And we've seen that happen in the past. I mean, what was it? One of the 1970s championships that Notre Dame had. Notre Dame enters the Cotton Bowl ranked 5th. Texas is ranked number 1. Notre Dame blasts Texas. Notre Dame's the national champion. So you get a chance to prove it on the field. And then now we're not having this debate, right? So even though the debate with Anthony and I was a lot of fun, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, Texas A&M is going to get its shot. They're going to get their shot in the big bowl game to go prove that they belong there. And then maybe Notre Dame and Texas A&M play in the Orange Bowl. Maybe that's how it shakes out. And then now they get a chance to go prove that, hey, we are better, and now they're in the Final Four. And that's what I think going back, because we've made the bowl games irrelevant. If it's not a semifinal game, they really don't matter. And that's disappointing, because the games used to really mean something. The bowl games used to really mean something. And I think we need to get back to establishing that, but then not also having the AP poll has to pick voters or pick the champions, because I think people in the Associated Press have no business picking a college football champion.
Okay, so I'm going to add a little or take a little pork out of this then, because after all, we don't like bills that have pork in them, Nancy Pelosi. But neither here nor there. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to be political or anything. You're saying,
trying to fire me up today.
Well, I'm just saying there's in certain bills there's so much pork. I'm surprised people don't go even. That's all, folks. But neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. If it were me, the last thing that I would want is just to make sure that everyone is treated the exact same way from day one until the first Monday in October. No polls. I want 0 preseason polls. I want 0. I don't want anything resembling a football poll. You can have fun with predictions. That's great. But everyone's on a straight line until the first Monday in October. Then you can have the committee or whatever do their thing, and that's going to be it. That's what I would want in a perfect football world.
I'd be okay with that. I don't mind polls now. Polls used to really bother me for the exact reasons you do, but I think that we have to accept the fact that the committee doesn't care about the polls.
Right.
They don't. They've shown. Look at the hissy fit that Kirk Herbstreit threw when BYU was ranked 14th in the initial poll, because they had convinced themselves that BYU was going to be ranked much higher. Why? Because they thought BYU was good, but BYU was ranked higher in the AP and the coaches poll. But the committee said, we don't care where they're ranked in the AP and the coaches poll. So I think that the polls really, to me, Ron, now are about how can we generate intrigue into a game. So we have our preseason polls. These teams are good. This team's not good. I think the committee's done a good job, and I'm concerned that if you have the committee start making decisions about who the best teams are early in the season, now the point that Anthony made kind of comes into conversation, because now you have when you start making a poll on October 1st that matters, one that actually matters, the problem I see is you're still basing it off of a combination of there's still a lot of preseason expectations built on it. And Ohio State this year is a perfect example. If Ohio State had to play a 12-game season, we may have a different conversation about Ohio State. But because they've only played 6 games and they haven't looked great in their 2 wins, we're still talking about this as the number 3 team in the country, not because of necessarily what they've done on the field, but because of we thought they were going to be coming into the year, right? So that's why I do like the fact that the committee waits so long to do their polls. The AP and the coaches polls, they're fun to talk about, they're fun to debate, but the committee has shown every single year that they do not care what the AP polls do, which is why every year when the first rankings come out, the people at ESPN lose their minds because they thought they had all the answers based off of the AP polls.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The 4-letter network is a 4-letter word that we can't say on the air. So there you go. I'm good with this. What say you, Congressman Anthony, over there? Are you good with this proposal?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right, passing on a law. There we go. We'll send it over to whoever the president of the NCAA is. See if he has the balls to sign this into law.
He's still hiding in his house.
Yeah,
I mean,
he doesn't. Even, we don't even know where he is. So there you go. For all we know,
the NCAA isn't the ones that makes this decision, though. It's the College Football Playoff Committee is the one that the NCAA doesn't decide who goes to the. They have no. They had no ability to make a decision regarding where the Rose Bowl is played, for example. So everybody talks about the NCAA. The NCAA doesn't determine how the college football championships are won. They do basketball and other sports, but football is unique. The championship for college football is not run by the NCAA, which is kind of interesting.
It's just I think this works far better. So a nice little compromise. See how this works. I mean, if only certain people in the certain city in a certain East Coast remoted area did the same thing that we just did for the last, 35 minutes without adding 1 million pounds of pork. Think of all the things we could do. Just, in this Festivus wonderful day of ours. There's part of the big grievances. But anyway, next week we will most assuredly talk about what Notre Dame is going to have to do to solve the rather hilly terrain that is the Alabama Crimson Tide, because good God, this team is talented.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah, an amazing team.
Playing a lot up until Florida game. They're playing a lot better on defense as well.
Yeah, they can be had defensively. I'm convinced of that. But it's going to take Ian Book to throw the ball down the field, and let's see if we can actually get him to do that. But that's a story for next week. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Trask.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Same to you, Anthony, and same to everybody else out there.
All right, have a great one. We'll talk next Wednesday, brother. All right, see you. Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. You might have gotten him fired up.
I like it. I did that Texas A&M thing just because I knew it would get him fired up. Because I wanted to see the reaction when I said I have some friends in College Station.
Yeah, he jumped on that like you threw a hanging curveball, and he's like, no. You're gonna swat that one back in a big way. Holy smokes. All right, 330-886-0813. Let's get to the phone lines. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. It's a Festivus discussion. What's on your mind, brother?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you. Whatever applies.
There you go. What's up, man?
Nothing. Just thought I'd call you, give you guys a jingle, see how everything's going. How you feeling today, young man?
Tube is out, a little less mobility than I thought, but that's okay. I mean, it feels better. I'm already immediately loving the fact that I don't have something stuck in my back now, so it feels good. I tell you what, I got a whole new level of respect for people that have to wear that long term. Good God, I only did it for 19 days. I can't imagine anyone needing to wear one of those things for months or years. I drove me nuts for 19 days, and that's a drop in the bucket compared to months or years.
Oh, I drove medical transportation, wheelchair van, access, and ambulance before I retired, and I had people who had those things in them for life.
Oof.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, really, talk about leveling up the appreciation of gratitude.
No doubt. There's a much deeper level of gratitude today than it's been since December 4th when I had the surgery, and the doctor said how ultimately a little more serious it was. I get a much deeper gratification toward a lot of things now.
Amen. Well, I'm not going to hold you up. I don't have anything to talk about in sports today. It seems like a quiet day.
Well, I gotta ask because it is Festivus. We don't have a poll. We're not doing feats of strength, but we are airing grievances. Do you have a grievance that you'd like to air, sir?
Oh, well, give me a second here. I'm not sure if I have any. Other than sports is boring without fans in the stands and fake noise being piped in so we could stay excited. That's a grievance, I guess.
Rich, I don't know about you, but in football, I don't really notice it that much because you don't really. I don't know. I feel like on a football broadcast, I don't really.
The fake
It wasn't the same as baseball. Like baseball, it was clear there were no fans, and you could really. It affected your watching ability of baseball. But I feel like with football, I just don't. Maybe it's just the way football is filmed. I just don't see it as much.
Let me pile on what you're saying because in baseball you can't replicate fan noise.
No.
In baseball, you just can't. Otherwise, you'd have recordings of the vendors screaming hot dogs, peanuts, whatever. You'd have on a loop people stomping their feet and whatnot, and that's part of the baseball culture. With football, it's easy to replicate the noise for football because that's just it. It's just noise. There is no rhythmic clapping or anything like that. Now, obviously, in Kansas City, you do the tomahawk chop, and there's a couple of other things, a couple of nuances in different stadiums, and you can record that.
Oh yeah.
And that's not a big deal, but it's easier to replicate crowd noise in football than it is in baseball.
Not only that, but in baseball, you can play without fans in the stadium, and because of the hand signals and all the signs are down to a science, it doesn't have that much effect on a game. In football, I think we had this conversation within the past week. In football, now they're doing counts, and you can hear in the other guy's huddle from cones in the side. It really changes things. The game has definitely changed, and my hat's off to the guys who have figured out a way around it.
Yeah, who knew people loved Omaha, too? How many times did Hoyer say Omaha Monday night? Jesus, I thought Peyton Manning was back quarterbacking the New York Giants. I mean, if I were in the Omaha Chamber of Commerce, I would have been loving Monday night. It's just, hey, we're just promoting our city,
Well, you know what? That kid Colt could have yelled out Dallas and wouldn't have mattered because he wasn't all that great and his team sucks. So
well, they had no chance, and it was abundantly apparent early on.
Well, I'm looking forward to a good week. I look forward to your predictions. And Merry Christmas, fellas. And on a final note, Omaha. Bye.
Omaha.
Hey, my predictions the last 2 weeks, or actually the last 3 weeks, have been utter garbage. And I'll be the first to admit, oh, my God. I think I had 2 ties this week.
Oh.
So I went 5, 9, and 2. Just some god-awful number. Earlier in the year, I was nailing 11 out of 15.
NFL gets murky when you hit week 13.
Oh, yeah.
Even the good teams start to shake a little bit.
Yeah, number was as high as 61.5%, 62%. Now it's...
No one saw what happened on Monday night coming with the Bengals beating the Steelers. Not even. I mean, with I can't remember the Bengals quarterback name. That's how irrelevant he is.
Well, and the other one was nobody saw the Jets slapping the Rams around like they did on Sunday. I mean,
this is how bad the Jets are. They clearly outplayed the Rams in every facet of the game, and they won by 3.
Yeah.
So.
And here's the age-old argument before we take a timeout and go strictly into high school football from here on out. Or high school basketball, I'm sorry, from here on out. Now you got an interesting argument. The Jets are no longer in play, at least temporarily no longer in play, and then maybe Jacksonville screws the pooch and they steal a win. But they're no longer in play for Trevor Lawrence, and it looks like Jacksonville's going to get Trevor Lawrence. If I'm the New York Jets and I have the 2nd pick overall, do I trade that pick and get as much draft capital back as possible to surround Sam Darnold with actual talent?
Because if you're not getting Trevor Lawrence, you're keeping Sam Darnold. Because I haven't really closed a book on Sam Darnold yet. Because he's been given nothing. to help him at all.
Yeah, he's like the kid that's going to get a lump of coal every single year because he's on the naughty list.
Except he's done nothing to get on the naughty list because he kind of shuts his mouth. He works. He's never had a character issue, even though the Jets have been terrible. Seems like a pretty good leader.
Yeah.
Trying to do what he can with the team he's got. But so I think if you don't get the one pick, then you try to get as much for Sam Darnold as you can because he's a pretty good. I mean, he's like.
I think he is.
He's like top. He's in like that bottom mid range 20.
Right now he is with no talent. You imagine him with talent?
So him with talent, he could go up into the. He's not going to crack the top 5 or the top 10, but he could be like a 12 or an 11 or maybe 13 if he has talent.
There are worse quarterbacks,
right?
And I haven't closed the book on him at all.
He would be maybe the top 2 quarterback in the NFC East right now, because that division is
that division's bad.
I think Carson Wentz isn't even in the top 5.
No, I said this,
and you know what? It's all mental with him.
Well, I said
Physically,
this when the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
He's got the yips.
When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I sat back and said, if the Eagles were smart, they would keep Nick Foles, and they would get as much as humanly possible for Carson Wentz right now while the iron's hot, and with all those draft picks, build a freaking dynasty. Mm-hmm. And even if Carson Wentz craps on him, or not Wentz, if Nick Foles craps on himself, you can still use one of those high draft picks, assuming the Jets were stupid enough to make this deal, to where they would have said, hey, we'll do this. Okay, well then we're going to take one of your high draft picks if Foles doesn't get the job done. We'll go with a quarterback with one of those high picks if he doesn't get the job done. But I would have done that, and of course, everyone would have said, "Oh, you're out of your mind." Well, it's one of those things you roll the dice.
You would have been, because at that point, before he got hurt, he was on the MVP season.
Absolutely, he was.
And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I honestly think physically, he's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league. It's just he has the yips. It's the mental.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see him in the pocket. He escapes it before he has to. He's rushing himself. He doesn't trust his offensive line. He doesn't trust his receivers. And you can see it because all the excuses that people made for him went away as soon as Jalen Hurts came in, and all the receivers were catching balls and the line was protecting for him, which tells me not only does he not getting it done on the field, but he's not getting it done in the locker room because those players are playing better for Jalen Hurts than Carson Wentz.
Yeah. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, open for business. We're going to take a time out on the other end. We're going to delve into some high school basketball. Today, delve in is something dive in.
I've actually heard that one. It's not like get the Duke.
So I get the Duke on that one? All right, there we go. I'm gonna make you respect the Duke. That's all there is to it. We're back in a bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Late edition of high school basketball tonight. We'll get into that. High school basketball on the network tonight. Late edition. We'll get into that after this timeout.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Brandon Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Hey, welcome back. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
I got pushed aside by Scotty.
No, you're both going to get in on this. By the way, I'm feeling like there should be an NFL game going on right now between the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns here. All that's missing is a football.
He's got the big double eights.
Yeah,
you know, and
I'm looking at that
personalized jersey. I think I truck him though.
I don't know. I mean, I want to see who would outrun who in the chair here.
He's got the big body, but I think I can outmaneuver him a little bit. I was telling DJ during our race, if you make Scotty turn a couple times, I have that race in hand.
So if it's a NASCAR race, right, you pretty much win this.
If it's a straight line, he wins because he's got the joystick of wonder over there.
Yeah, he's got the turbo. He's got the turbo booster.
But yeah, I think if you put some maneuverability in there, I think I got the upper hand. Right, Scotty?
He's like, probably.
Where's that competitive spirit, man?
I mean, I don't know. I think I would have a shot, but I have to get another booster on this thing.
Yeah, you have to do the joystick to the left and leave it on the left if we're going to go sharp left-hand turns here.
I think you can drift pretty well.
I mean, I was telling you, it gets up to about 7 miles an hour.
It's hard to turn at that speed.
It is hard to turn.
Yeah, you're pretty much going to have to lean into.
And all I have to do is put them on breakdown and I'm turning. You have to stop the chair, turn, go back.
That's true.
All right. So that's a good point.
He gassed me on the straight line. So.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the He's got the turbocharged chair over there.
And all he has to do is this.
Yeah.
And I have.
Yeah, and you got a wheel. So I mean, you're going to have to get a little bit bigger in the off season in order to compete with that.
I got to pump some iron.
Yeah, you're just going to have to get that done.
I got to pump you up.
Yeah. All right, Scotty, you got your Browns gear on.
I do.
Now, obviously, the last hurdle for the Browns, in my mind, was cleared when you knocked off the Jets. You're no longer the, quote, same old Browns. How confident are you going into the final 2 games of the season,
Wait,
kid?
Scotty, let me add to that question real quick.
Okay.
Because he said final hurdle. As a Browns fan, would you be all thing, like, let's say they go to the playoffs, maybe they win a playoff game or whatever. If they did all that, but they lose twice to the Steelers and Ravens, I mean, that's one of the hurdles for you guys, right? At least beating one of those teams once. Don't you want to beat the Steelers like extremely bad for this season to mean a lot more than it already does?
You know what? You're right. I apologize. You are correct. That should be a hurdle. You are 100% right on that. So you got to still beat Pittsburgh over there.
Yeah, and they've showed. I know it hasn't come up in the results of the games, but even before Monday night, they showed that in the past they could beat Baltimore. They beat them the first game last year. They played them really tough in that second game for as much of a debacle as it was with Freddie Kitchens last year. They played the Ravens really well. The Steelers, I just think, are still in the Browns' head. They haven't won in Heinz Field since 2003 with Tim Couch. So I think they're really in their head, and that's why I'm fearful of the scenario where it's kind of a winner-take-all for the AFC North in the last week of the season. And if the Browns have to win, say it plays out to where they have to win that game or they don't get into the playoffs, I don't like the Browns' chances there,
Scotty
being
would
at
be
home.
watching like this.
Okay, so yesterday, and I think DJ came in, we made the comment that the Cleveland Browns are reminding me right now of that contestant on Let's Make a Deal, where the contestant has been chosen and the contestant has already won this beautiful, nice, little small box. And the small box contains a pretty nice trinket, and they're pretty satisfied with that. And then that devilish
door,
the devilish announcer sits back, because he's always wanting to make a deal. He's looking back and goes, this is pretty nice, but I will trade you this for what's behind door number 2. Now, door number 2 for Browns fans is, or curtain number 2. Curtain number 2 for Browns fans is the AFC Northern Division Championship against the Steelers. And we made the scenario of Dolphins win this week, Ravens win this week, Titans and Colts both win this week, and the Browns win this week. We're in the same situation where if the Browns don't win next week against the Steelers, they may very well be knocked out of the playoffs. So let me ask, would you be willing to trade a wild card berth for what's behind door curtain number 2, which is an AFC Northern Division Championship?
And that's the thing about Let's Make a Deal. You don't know that's
behind. And you're right. You don't know what's behind curtain number 2. Curtain number 2 could be 11 wins and thank you very much, but you're not in the top 7. Or it could be the brand new car, a.k.a. the Browns win the AFC North. Would you be willing to make a trade?
In a normal year that wasn't stricken by COVID, I think I would think about it more. But this year, I don't think home field advantage and the chance to have a home playoff game is nearly as meaningful because they're only going to have 12,000 fans tops. I really just want to get into the postseason. It seems like it was just so long ago, and it's been since 2002, and everybody kind of knew that year that team was fool's gold and probably going to be one and done. So I don't think I would trade it, even if it meant a chance to win their first division title since '89. I just would rather get in. That's why I never root for the Steelers, but I'm not going to be disappointed if they bounce back from their 3-game skid and knock off the Colts this weekend.
Yeah, and as long as the Browns beat the Jets, they're in the playoffs. If the Steelers beat the Colts, then that's it. Browns are in the playoffs. And I got no problems with that.
That's a conundrum because you're in the situation where you either root for the Steelers to win and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or you root for the Steelers to lose, and you still have a chance for the division, but all of a sudden that playoff spot isn't nearly as locked in as it used to be.
Here's the conundrum times 10. Let's assume for a second Miami loses to the Vegas Raiders on Saturday night. Everything happens to where Miami's 10-5, Baltimore's 10-5, Indianapolis and Cleveland are 11-4, and we'll say that the Titans are 11-4. They upset Green Bay. So everyone's 11-4. Steelers are 12-3. They've lost they're 11-4. They've lost their 4th consecutive game, and now everything is dead even, winner take all in the AFC North Championship, and the Browns get out to a nice lead, and the lead starts evaporating. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins had this 7-point lead over Buffalo, and yet, okay, hey, we're beating Pittsburgh, no big deal. Miami has a lead. Keep in mind, Buffalo doesn't have to play any of their regulars because Pittsburgh lost. As long as Buffalo doesn't lose on Monday night against New England, Buffalo has nothing to play for in Week 17. They'll rest some of their regulars. Let's assume for a second the Bills win. So they don't have anything to play for. So they have backups all over the place, and they're trailing Miami by 7 points, whatever. And Cleveland has this lead, and all of a sudden, Pittsburgh comes out of nowhere, and they take the lead. And now all of a sudden, now the game between Miami and Buffalo, everyone's like, "Oh shit, we got to root for the Bills now." Or if the Ravens are trailing, or winning, oh crap, now we got to play. Now we got to root for the Bengals. Or if Indianapolis is winning, oh, we got to root for Houston. It's just the scoreboard and ring of emotions is going to go a million miles an hour if things don't work out in a potential Steeler-Browns game.
And you don't want to rely on Houston and Cincinnati to be your
safety. And you wouldn't want to rely on the Bills if they don't have anything to play for.
We better root for this. The second team of the Bills, Cincinnati and Houston, or we're screwed.
That's why I'm with you, Scotty. You know what? I don't. Okay, if I were a Browns fan, and I am, except for when they play the Bills. Okay, the divisional title's nice. Curtain number 2 is nice, but I got this really nice gift right here. I ain't crapping on this gift because I haven't had this gift in forever and a day. I'll take it.
And I also think, Ron, considering the fact that no one has as big of a home field advantage this year as they normally would, plus you've already seen many wild card teams
get to the Super Bowl.
Agreed. And I still think the Browns are a year or two away. I really think they need to improve the back end of their defense. I think is the most important step they got to make. But you never know. They're playing extremely well right now. And I thought I knew what Baker's ceiling was about a month ago, but I gotta say the way he's playing, I think there's a chance he gets better and better. Remember, this is his first year under Stefanski's system, and Stefanski's it looks like he's the first legitimate NFL type head coach that Baker's had. So I think there's just a lot of potential there. I don't see the Browns. I wouldn't like them if they ended up matching up with Kansas City, but I do think that in another year or two, they could be a real threat to come out of the AFC.
Spend the entire 2021 draft on the defense. Let the offense stay where it is, and we're on to something pretty big. I agree, and I agree with what you're saying with Baker. I didn't think Baker was ever going to see the light of day in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is becoming a very good quarterback in a short period of time. He's impressed me.
We didn't talk about this because we didn't ever think it was going to happen. But if the Steelers lose out, they're 11-5. How do they fit into the wild card tiebreakers?
Well, they beat Baltimore twice.
They did. Okay.
So remember,
they would get the 7th seed.
Yeah, in the tiebreaker. One of the reasons why the Browns don't get into the playoffs with multiple teams is because Baltimore keeps bringing them down, and Baltimore has the worst conference record of the potential 11-5 teams. So they would be the 7th seed, and because they brought Cleveland down, Cleveland's the 8th seed. Pittsburgh, it's the exact opposite. The Steelers would be bringing the Ravens down to where the Ravens wouldn't go to the playoffs. So, and here's the other scary part. Would
the Steelers be the 7th seed, though?
No, they wouldn't be.
Okay.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be?
Here's the other scary part that I didn't even mention. Do you realize the Cleveland Browns could get the 2 seed?
That's crazy.
Buffalo loses out if they get upset in Foxborough, and I don't trust Belichick as far as I can throw him, so that could happen. And then you have Miami that has a lot to play for because they're wanting to get into the playoffs. So let's assume for a second the Bills crap on themselves and they finish 11-5. Okay. They go 11-5. Steelers, they lose out. They're going to be 11-5. The Browns win the division at 12-4, beating the Jets, beating the Steelers. They already beat the Colts. They already beat the Titans. 2 teams, but one of them will finish 12-4, one would assume. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2 seed, the Cleveland Browns.
And those lights are starting to get brighter in Scotty's eyes. I think he's starting to want that a little bit.
So let me ask you again. Do you want what's behind curtain number 2, or do you want this nice little trinket here?
Let's make a deal, Scotty. What are you taking?
I'll take the trinket.
There you go, brother. I appreciate that.
All the game show fans are booing you, but you did the smart thing.
Oh, he absolutely did the smart thing. Browns haven't seen a playoff game there's seniors in high school that haven't seen the Cleveland Browns go to the playoffs.
I'm 32 years old. I believe I was 14.
Yes.
The last time the Browns made the playoffs.
32. You are officially the senior cerebral palsy person on Running Point.
I am. You're just
you're
a spring chicken compared to me.
Yeah, junior senator, spring chicken. That's what I'm calling you from here on out, man.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, guys. Great show today.
Hey, listen, before I let you go, it is the airing of the grievances. You got anything to air out?
I just, people that, my grievance today and something I wanted to get off my chest. I realized that the Browns have to start beating the big brothers in the Ravens and the Steelers if they ever want to get to where they ultimately want to be. You're gonna have to start beating them. But the people saying that out there saying that Baker, he hasn't played big against good teams. I just don't. I think every team in the NFL, as the Jets showed, as Cincinnati showed the other night, I think any win is a quality win. And I think he's made great NFL-type throws in these last couple games. I think he has one of the strongest arms that's not talked about in the National Football League. He had that 73-yard throw against the Baltimore Ravens before halftime. So the people that still aren't on the Baker bandwagon and still think he's just an average or slightly above average quarterback, I don't buy it. I think he's going to be really good. He may never be top 5, but right now he's playing like a top 10 quarterback for sure.
I want to see what he does the final 2 games of the year, but he's slowly starting to win me over. He's had a hell of a year this year, and it's nice to have Chubb and Hunt. And when Chubb is healthy, good Lord.
That's the thing, because Chubb comes in with a knee problem already. He tore his ACL in college.
Yes.
So as much as you want to rely on him, there's that thought back in your head that goes, we don't want to overuse this guy, or we're not going to have him.
Exactly. He's one weird hit from breaking or tearing an ACL, and then you're really. That's why they still have Hunt.
You already have his career's going to be shorter than most running backs,
Sure.
just because he already torn his ACL. There's only so much you can do. So you don't want to overuse Nick Chubb as much.
If I may, since you asked me a final question, I have one final thing for you guys before I get out of here.
Let me hear it.
It looks like they're gonna have to pay Nick Chubb and sign him long term. I know there's the old saying that running backs are a dime a dozen, but Nick Chubb is special. I think he's for sure a top 3 running back in the league. And it looks like Denzel Ward is another guy that could be getting paid here soon. Do you guys think they could pay Baker and pay everybody and get him at a kind of a discount at some point, or do you think with the way he's playing, they're gonna have to break the bank? How do you see the Browns' cap situation, because they've had the most money for the last couple years to play with, and I think they've made some sound decisions with the cap, but eventually they're going to have to start paying these guys. Do you think they could pay everybody else and still pay Baker and not take a huge cap hit? What do you guys think about that?
If the Browns finish this great season, and let's say that even if they win a playoff game, you take care of Baker first. I am of the opinion that you do not pay running backs because of what Scotty said. As incredible as Nick Chubb has been, he has health issues, and running backs are not exactly known for their longevity. So I'm always of the opinion that you just do not pay running backs, so I wouldn't. I think Nick Chubb also kind of
wouldn't make an exception for Chubb.
No, because like I said, he has the health risk already. He's already had a torn ACL, so his career is going to be shortened as it is. So I would really be hard pressed to pay him a lot of money.
If the Browns had that really, really low salary cap, and I don't think they do anymore, but if they had a really low salary cap, that's the conversation's moot. You can do it. Nick Chubb is, and I know it's a different era, but when you see that Nick Chubb is averaging more yards per carry than any running back in the history of the National Football League in his short period of time compared to the other Hall of Fame running backs at the same amount of time, okay, it's one thing to sit back and go, okay, you're as good as, give me a low-level Hall of Fame running back.
We'll just see
Floyd Little.
Okay.
All right.
The record for career yards per rush average, I think, is Jamal Charles in his career with 5.6. So that's kind of the benchmark when you're talking about that particular stat.
Yeah, but he had more carries.
Right.
So,
right.
But for this particular time, Nick Chubb was outdoing Jim Brown. You have my attention because Jim Brown's the GOAT, period. So I would be very tempted to say, okay, Chubb, we're going to pay you. Now, you're not going to get paid a ridiculous amount of money because running backs don't, because it's no longer a 3-yard in a cloud of dust league, but you're going to be the top paid running back or one of the top paid running backs. And Baker's not a top 10 quarterback, but we can pay him some money. Sooner or later you're going to run out of gas in terms of how much money you can spend. But these are the two guys that I would take care of right now, or as soon as possible, when their contract is up, because I don't want to lose either one of these guys.
Here's what I'll say with Nick Chubb. You make sure that you put the best offer on the table, and no other team can sneak in and say,
Agreed.
We'll pay you more for no. I mean, you make sure that as long as it's not like breaking the bank, which I don't think any team will break the bank for a running back, so you won't have to worry about that. You make sure that your offer is better than any other team.
Now, here's the other thing that I would probably do is if you can get Mayfield to sign a 6-year deal and give him a ton of money, then you simply put a franchise tag on Nick Chubb.
Isn't it funny, like early in the season we were talking like this is Mayfield's last chance?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're like, pay the man.
Yeah, but now let's put the car in park for a second. And let me ask you. Obviously, with the Browns, and we've made mention of this, and Scotty, you made mention of this, they crap on themselves when they've played the Steelers. Let's go to week number 17, and everything is on the line, and Mayfield has a god-awful day where he throws half of his passes incomplete, and he throws 3 picks, has a god-awful day. The Steelers run over the Browns. Does your opinion change based on what he didn't do against the Steelers in the final game of the season?
Absolutely.
I think, that's, I don't want it to
that would
sound like a cop-out.
That would
I would be concerned, Ron, but I don't think it would change my opinion, only because it still would be just his first year in the offense. And I think you've seen with a lot of guys, look how long it took Ryan Tannehill to play at the level he's played out with Tennessee.
Alex Smith.
So I wouldn't totally be thinking, oh, he has another bad game against Pittsburgh. Like we have to rethink about what we're going to do with Baker here. I think a lot more. Yes, Baker was horrible the last game against Pittsburgh, but I thought the entire team laid an egg, not just Baker. I thought his line was terrible, so a lot of factors go into it. Would I be really concerned? Yes, but it wouldn't change my thoughts on what to do with him from a contract perspective.
It depends.
But I know I keep coming up with thoughts. I wanted you guys' take on this too, really quick, because I love Denzel Ward when he's healthy. I think he's arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. That's my opinion.
Tre'Davious White would like a conversation, but continue.
Oh my gosh, he's a Bills fan though.
But what really concerns me about them paying the man is he's been hurt a lot so far early in his career. So I wanted to ask you guys, would you pay? He's been a lockdown corner, but would you pay a guy like Denzel Ward?
Nope.
Because he's been hurt a lot.
He's glass. No, thank you. You were going to bring up something on Mayfield.
Well, I was going to say, it depends what kind of bad game he has against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Because bad games come in different shapes and colors.
Sure.
If he's flat out missing throws, like bad decisions,
like early in the year,
stuff that is really under his control, has nothing to do with the coaching or the system or the play calling, then that really, that's becoming a trend. Big games, you're making bad decisions, you're making bad throws. It takes the shine off of everything he's done. If he has a bad game because the play calling is bad or because they're putting too much on his shoulders or whatever it may be, or the Steelers just make really good defensive plays, which that happens
and
too.
It happens, absolutely.
Then I stay where I'm at right now with Baker Mayfield. Is he's kind of proving that he can be the quarterback of the Browns' future. But if he goes back to old Baker where he's just making terrible throws and terrible decisions that have nothing to do with the coaching staff or the system, then all of a sudden it's like this is becoming a trend.
Here's the beautiful part of this conversation. It's not at the top of the pecking order because Baker's in year 3 of what is a 5-year contract. Now, it's 4 years plus an option year. Browns don't have to pick that option year up until halfway through year number 4. If they're convinced, say halfway through year 4, hey, we believe this guy is our guy, then they can flip the option for the 5th year, and then you have a year and a half to figure out, okay, we got to get this guy a long-term deal. We got a year and a half to do it.
I'm wondering if Mahomes set a precedent for how people sign quarterbacks, because he signed a big contract, obviously half a $500 million, but he spread it out through 10 years. So it's a franchise-friendly big contract because they can give him that money spread out however they want to divvy it up to open up. So I wonder if that's going to kind of change the precedent on how teams pay quarterbacks going on in the future.
Well, here's to your point. There's guys now in their late 30s and early 40s that are actually still playing the game at a relatively high pace.
Right.
Where Father Time hasn't knocked out some of the older guys in this league. They're getting there. They're getting hurt, but they're not physically. But the Father Time's ready to knock them out, just not quite yet. So to your point, if you can go 10 years, $300 million, you're spending $30 million for a quarterback, or 10 years, $350 million, $35 million. What's the difference between spending $35 million over 5 years or $35 million over 10 years? I mean, at the end of the day, your quarterback is taken care of. Right. Onward to, especially when they get older, taking care of the offensive line.
That helps you with free agency because people will come for your quarterback.
There you go. I think Kansas City.
The knock on Kansas City is you're not going to be able to sign anybody with that amount of money going to Mahomes. But since Mahomes is there for 10 years,
you're going to get the free
agents. People are going
to
want to come because they know that Patrick Mahomes is signed and locked in.
Kansas City reinvented the wheel, and now everyone's looking at this and going, "Oh crap, we got to deal with this guy, and we got to deal with this for the next 10 years." Because you're right, they're going to free agents, especially the receivers, the running backs, and people that are in search of a ring, are going to look at this and go, "Wait a second." Kansas City's got arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's under contract for X amount of years. Hell yes, I'm going to go to Kansas City because that's my best chance to win. So there you go. You're on to something. No doubt.
Exactly why Le'Veon Bell came. He can talk about one disappointing role all he wants, but he came to Kansas City because he wants the Super Bowl.
Well, and now he gets a role because your boy is
Clyde Edwards is hurt for at least the last 2 games of the regular season. Now, thank God he didn't tear anything or break anything.
Yeah.
But we dodged a bullet on that because it looked terrible.
And as long as Kansas City's not a 2 through 7, which I believe they're the worst they can do is a 4.
Right.
But still, as long as they're not a 2, a 3, or a 4, hey, you're not going to play the wild card weekend, so it's an extra week to get ready for the divisional.
This game against Atlanta doesn't matter as much because it's an interconference game. So even if we lost it, our AFC record would win the tiebreaker against anybody. So,
and the Bills are out of this altogether because they lost to the Chiefs head-to-head.
So I think the only team that can steal that 1 seed still is Pittsburgh.
And the way they're playing right now is
they got a lot more things to worry about than trying to catch Kansas City.
Exactly. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thanks for coming
Have
on.
a great rest of the show.
All right, man.
And sadly, we can't use your catchphrase because it's not suitable for air.
Okay.
Well, actually,
that's a bummer.
Actually, we could do the abbreviations to it, or I could say it in Italian, because nothing says class quite like someone saying that word in Italian, because it sounds so much better that way.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. All right.
Don't offend our Italian viewers.
No, well, I'm one of them.
With obscene words.
I'm one of them. 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points. It's Festivus Day in the HQ here in East Palestine.
Yeah, there's some news out of college basketball that might be intriguing as the season goes on because Florida's Keontae Johnson diagnosed with a heart inflammation. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, he collapsed in the game at Florida State.
Yeah.
And so he had a COVID infection in the offseason. You don't know if there's no way to prove if that was what caused his heart inflammation or not. But it's one of those things where if it's even a possibility that it did, it's going to really open the eyes of the people in Florida and a lot of people in the SEC. And
a lot of doctors sat back and said that the back issue of COVID for the athletes was going to be heart-related. And hopefully this is not the start of something that might rear its ugly head. Because if that's the tip of the iceberg, oh, goodness.
Because we saw, athletes with heart problems already. We've seen way too many in the past people collapse on the basketball court.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching on live TV Hank Gathers collapsing on the court, and oof.
That's something that we don't want to see.
No.
Ever.
No, absolutely not. We got lots of basketball on the network this afternoon and this evening. For example, the winners and losers bracket of the Holiday Classic. This afternoon at 3:30, Ursuline's going to play Columbiana. This is a boys basketball holiday tournament. So DJ is going to have the call. So there's no power hour today.
DJ's going to be
DJ's going to be working this game. Columbiana's taking on Ursuline.
3:30.
And that's a 3:30 start at Salem, one of the best gyms that hardly anyone talks about.
It gets overshadowed quite a bit.
Yeah,
but
it does.
It's I think because the field house, of course, but.
Well, there's two field houses sandwiched between Salem, because the other field house that, and again, this is part of the Mahoning-Columbiana County little discrimination thing going on. People in Columbiana County feel that they don't get any credit, which I agree with, but neither here nor there. Potter Fieldhouse. Have you ever gone down to one of them?
Yeah.
Potter Fieldhouse is a cool place. It's up there. It's there. The Struthers Fieldhouse is iconic. No two ways about it. But sandwiched in between the two communities is a really nice gymnasium in Salem.
Yeah,
I love that gym.
The only thing I ever had against it was having volleyball there for tournaments because the ceiling's low.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating, especially as just a fan going there to watch volleyball and you see 5 or 6 balls get affected by the ceiling in one match, and you're just like, oh man, we got to have somewhere better. But
yeah.
As far as the gym and the court and the basketball and the basketball we've seen in tournaments there, it's second to none.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous
basketball we're going to
place.
see tonight. And I think Poland and Salem at night is going to be a real fun one to watch.
Yeah, that's going to be a solid game. We got a lot of girls basketball tonight. Sebring is home to Jackson Milton. That is varsity only, and it will start at 5:30. Also, varsity only. This is a boys game, and it's good to see McDonald is going to be the first Trumbull County team to take advantage of. Okay, we're now free to do anything we want to. As Monday, the decision was made, or I'm sorry, Tuesday, the decision was made that they would not extend the ban for high school sports, the Trumbull County Board of Health. So McDonald said, hey, we don't need any practices. Our practice is going to be the first game of the year. They're going to go up against Valley Christian. This has the makings of an interesting game. And add to the fact that McDonald hasn't really practiced all that much. Now you have the possibility of this game possibly being a little sloppy for McDonald. Not that we're saying that it will be, but there's a chance because of the lack of practice.
It's one of the toughest games to open with after a long layoff because of the defense that Valley Christian can play. Because they're already going to force you into a sloppy game, even in a normal situation. Now you're saying players haven't played together in over a month, and they're playing one of the better defenses in the area. It's a formula for McDonald to really struggle offensively. But as far as defense goes, being off shouldn't really affect it because it's just fundamental athleticism. That's all you need for defense. So if McDonald can play good defense against a team in Valley Christian that really relies on their defense, then they can stay in the game. And they've got a lot of players that know how to win. And if they stay close and McDonald makes some game-winning plays, even if their offense is sloppy, we talked about it with South Range. Their offense wasn't great last night, but they made the plays when they needed to make them. Those game-changing type plays in the basketball game. And I'm confident that McDonald has the ability to do that because Coach Brazil, although they lost his son, they didn't leave the cupboard bare. There's still a bunch of people that know how to win in that program. So I think they are very capable of making those game-winning plays, even if their offense is really struggling.
Now, here's the one thing with McDonald in the fact that they are not going to deviate from anything that they've done under Coach Brazil, who's now gone, and Coach Francis Shelley's replaced him. Coach Francis Shelley said, no hesitation whatsoever, we're still going to be the team that runs up and down the floor and presses up and down the floor. Okay, the press, it's not something you roll out of bed and say, hey, let's do this right now.
Right.
No, you got to have a few days, dare I say at least 2 weeks of practice to have that bad boy perfected. So from that perspective, if they try to do a press knowing that they haven't done a lot of practicing, that could make things
It's high risk, high reward because
Exactly.
they'll still be able to put pressure on Valley Christian and maybe force them into some turnovers. But if you haven't practiced it in a minute and you're out of position a little bit, you're going to give Valley Christian a lot of easy buckets.
And Valley Christian doesn't score a lot of points because their game is
Not in the
predicated
half
on their
court,
defense.
But they are extremely athletic and they can score if they beat the press really easily. So I think I would put kind of a soft press where you're pressing the ball handler and making them work their way up the floor maybe. But I don't know if I would have
I'm not going full detail.
I would have the guts.
No, I'm not going full
But
detail because if it
that's
happens,
McDonald's identity, and they might just say, "Hey, we need to be who we are."
Yeah.
And just go and the kids have done it before. They should be technically sound on the press because all of them are returning. So, I mean, you shouldn't have to teach them the press again in practice.
No, but you
It should
gotta
just be
perfect
getting.
it.
It should be getting conditioned.
yeah. My thing is, if
That's
they
a lot
do
of running.
that, this is going to be a high scoring game.
You think?
I think this is a
It's
high scoring game.
It's going to turn into a run match.
Because it just, you'll get a lot of easy layups if, as you said, if someone is even a fraction away from where they're supposed to be, that's going to make the difference to whether a guy gets an easy layup or if your press works. So I can expect Valley Christian to get some easy points if they're going to be playing typical McDonald basketball based on the fact, not because of the talent level, hell no. I'm going to be 1,000,000% in agreement with you. Just because Zach Brazil graduated does not mean McDonald's all of a sudden lower tier high school basketball. Hell no. That is a solid, very talented group of kids, except now you've missed a good chunk of your offense, but there's plenty of kids on this floor that can pick up the slack.
You know what? It might be the Calvin Johnson factor when he left Detroit, and all of a sudden Matt Stafford was a little bit of a better quarterback because he threw the ball around. So maybe this will help McDonald's offense be a little bit balanced, and they'll have 3 or 4 people in double figures on a good night. And sometimes when a superstar and an athlete like a Zach Brazil leaves a program, he was a really good leader, by the way. So if that player is a good leader, and we talked about Monday leaving the program better than where it was when you left it, then that can really help your team be a little bit more balanced, because now all of a sudden, instead of when you're playing with him, it's hard not to sit and watch. It's hard not to stand and just watch. So there's going to be a lot more involvement from everybody, all 5 players on the floor on offense. So McDonald might find a little bit more balance, and they might be like, this balance thing works. So
they're going to be a better threat in the tournament because they have balance.
Yeah.
And name me the last team that won a state championship based on one guy and 4 players that, in your words, stuck around and just said, okay, we have a role. It's not a big role because he's getting 40-plus points a game. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic, especially if you've got a guy that can get 40-plus points a game. But if you're going with one dominant figure and 4 guys that your season predicates on these guys,
they were role players,
getting the job done, you're not going to have as good of tournament life as if you have complete balance and nobody's a threat, so you can't play a special defense, whether it be triangle and 2 to put 2 people on them, or a diamond and 1 to put 1 person on them, or some other exotic defenses. McDonald has got a better chance of going further in the tournament, and that's weird to say because you've arguably taken away not only the best player on the team, arguably the best player in the area. You've taken him off of this team, and yet this team could very well have a deeper run in the tournament this year because of the fact that they're a much deeper and much more balanced team.
On the flip side, though, they are going to need someone who is comfortable with the ball in their hands in clutch situations.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of the things that they're going to have to kind of grow as the season goes on. Who's going to be that player when the game matters most in the clutch situations that we want the ball in this kid's hands? And he's going to be the alpha personality that says, I want it in my hands and I'm going to go score.
Yeah, you got to have that too. But there's got to be a balance. And,
Right.
And isn't balance a wonderful word when
I
it
feel
comes
like
to basketball?
we're going into a little bit of Eastern religion studies with all this balancing. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is Festivus after
get the
all.
chakras open.
Yeah, and there you go. Girls basketball, and I'm going to be so tickled pink to do this one because I'm wearing my. This is going to be worn tonight when I'm broadcasting the game.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I'm going to sound like a homer because no, I'll call the game the way the game should be called. But I did graduate from
Yeah, remember,
Leetonia.
it is at Springfield too. So
No,
you have
no,
to-
it's at Leetonia.
Okay, I thought you said earlier it was
Well,
at Springfield.
I thought it was, and I was led to believe that it was. No, it's in Beartown.
Okay.
So when I walk in wearing this, I'm not welcome in Leetonia very often for, I don't know why, but whatever.
I think we all know why.
But when I walk into Leetonia wearing this, okay, now all of a sudden Ronnie Poe, he's welcome anywhere he wants to be. So when
That girls' game's going to be interesting because
I'm looking forward to this.
Latonia's, well, they were undefeated until that
Until
United
they get
loss.
against United. But they bounced back and did a really nice game against Heartland a couple of nights ago.
But, Springfield's got the height and a little bit of talent, and J.C. Mullen is so hard to stop.
That's going to be a fun matchup. I don't know who's going to be on her, whether it's Taryn Ferry or Haley Brock. I don't know who's going to be on
You bring up
this
Taryn
girl.
Ferry, and I think she's one of the players that is under the shadows this year. But, man, she's fun to watch.
She can play.
She can ball.
Yeah, she can play. And there's a sophomore guard that everybody needs to know the name because she is going to be electric for a lot of years to come. Ella Gregorino is solid. She can play. She can play. She's
It's gonna
solid.
Be, right when we come back from Christmas break, the first game out is going to be Latonia United round 2.
And don't think for a second my Lady Bears aren't going to be ready for that
And
one.
that's going to be in the Bear Den. You might end up having that one.
I'm all for that. I love Coach Ritz.
That game might be for the EOAC, stronghold
be.
because both teams are playing.
Did you see what
extremely
United
well right
did
now.
against Jackson Milton in the fourth quarter? I'm like, what the hell?
I called that game. That team is like just finding ways to win close games, and it's because they're confident and they're young. And
Fun to watch.
They're one of those teams that they don't know what they don't know, and that's what you kind of say about young teams. And man, I like watching Madison Kibler play because we talked with Coach Ziegler. She's one of the players that, even though she's a sophomore, in the big situations, she wants the ball in her hands and she wants to go and score. And you don't see that a lot from sophomore players. So the confidence and the leadership and the personality from the young players. And Grace Knight had a great game for them too. So I think United, they just keep finding ways to win.
Yeah, this is going to be the fun game whenever United and Leetonia play again. But that's down the road. Leetonia's got their hands full tonight against Springfield. Larry Scragg and I will be doing the game. This is new on the list.
So
I thought I
Mullen-
was going to be off today. And truth be told, I told everyone, look, I'm getting half of the clamps taken out of my back. I'm getting the drain taken out of my back. I thought this was going to hurt like hell. I go into the doctor's today, and she's like, take a deep breath. Okay. She goes, all right, it's done. What the hell do you mean it's done? She goes, oh, I took it out. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
It works for me. So I'm good. I go into Beartown and I get to broadcast my alma mater. I'm a happy camper. But it will be it'll be a fun game because Springfield, we've seen them. Larry and I saw them when they opened up against Crestview and that girl that you told me
J.C.
about.
Mullen, yep.
Holy smokes, can she
And
play?
and Schuler's been there for a while. He's a good coach, and he has a good system in place. And they're always one of the teams that very competitive, and they're going to be just as competitive this year. And she's only a sophomore, so next couple of years to come.
Yeah, that's a varsity-only game, 6:15. Struthers takes on Ursuline at the Field House. That's a 6:45 start. Boardman and Cornerstone Christian.
Oh,
Now,
man, is that a tough game for Boardman or what?
yeah, Cornerstone Christian. I think a lot of folks, maybe 6 years ago, recognized this name because the boys' team was for Division IV, they were beating down some Division I teams. They were that good. In the last few years, you haven't heard too much about Cornerstone Christian's boys team.
Yeah, but the
girls team, holy crap.
Now, I will say that this year, it's not the exact same Cornerstone Christian that's like almost a lock to win regionals like they have been in the last 3 or 4 years. But they are still very good. They're still probably the favorites to win their district. They're probably going to be in the conversation for regional at least. But even if they're not like the big, mighty Cornerstone Christian that they usually are, that's still a very tough opponent for Boardman to deal with.
And this is bad news for any Division IV girls team, i.e. Western Reserve, McDonald. Leetonia, if they continue playing the way they're playing.
I think the real team to watch out for in their region, honestly, is Buckeye Central.
Are they going to
won the region last year?
Would they be in this region? Because Buckeye Central aren't they south by the river, or am I in the wrong part of?
They won McDonald's region last year because they beat Dowden in the regional championship.
Okay,
so.
All right.
I think they return a little bit more, and I think they're the team to really watch if you're Western Reserve and McDonald. But Cornerstone Christian, they're a strong program. They're definitely going to have their hands in the cookie jar.
This game I would love to see, and if I weren't doing the Leetonia game, I would be tempted to see this one. It's going to be at South Range, and I believe you're going to have this one. South Range is going to be hosting Cardinal Mooney. Do you need my score sheet from the Mooney game against Crestview?
I'm good.
Okay.
I got their roster already. It was there yesterday when I did the boys game. So Paul Munson's really working ahead of schedule.
This is a really good Cardinal Mooney basketball team.
It's interesting because we're going to see South Range exuded so much emotional energy in that overtime loss to Hoban. And one thing you hate to see from a team like that against a game like that is an emotional layover almost, because you spend so much energy to try to beat that team and you lose. And then you come in and Mooney's very good, and they've won every game except for that Crestview game they opened up with. They've beaten Fitch twice in 2 days, which was really impressive. Katie Huff is really a great scorer. She scored 21 against Fitch on Monday. But then they have Elena Scrivina, who can also score as well. So it's going to be one of those. I think South Range has to use this game to wash out that Hoban game, because Jeff Fishel has preached to them, we're gonna not be prisoners of results, and this is going to test that, because it's tough to lose a game against a really good opponent in overtime that you felt like you had an opportunity to win.
Sure. And it's not like they're playing a jabroni this time around.
No.
So now they're playing another really tough opponent, which again goes right back to what we've been saying all along. And kudos to the athletic department, kudos to Coach Fishel, and kudos to anyone who put this schedule together, because they are getting these kids ready for a much deeper run than just districts. This is a team that everyone wants to have them go to Dayton.
That game against Hoban really is put Division III on high alert, because Hoban's top-notch Division I. And when you do that to Hoban, you push them to overtime, you score 76 points on them in regulation. That puts everyone in Division III on high alert.
Yep.
So now you just got to take care of everything else, because honestly, if you go and you lose to Cardinal Mooney, then that all that shine from that overtime game against Hoban goes away a little bit.
Yeah, and Mooney's a D2 program,
right? And then it doesn't get any easier next week, because they got Boardman and Nordonia.
Yeah.
In the Holiday Hoops tournament, the Monday and Tuesday after Christmas.
And it's interesting. Mooney and Ursuline flip flop. The boys, Ursuline's 2, Mooney's 3, but in the girls, Mooney's 2, Ursuline's 3. So it's kind of weird, but it works. Now, of course, if the two Catholic schools combined into one,
that's never going to
maybe having one building, say,
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Western Reserve Road, that would be nice. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
It was,
Mooney had the chance. I remember not too long ago to move the school out into a better area, and they decided to
Western Reserve Road.
They decided to instead spend the money on beefing up the security a little bit.
They weren't offered the opportunity to purchase that land in Western Reserve Road. We'll just leave that one alone.
We'll leave it alone.
But look, I mean, and obviously there's boosters that this rivalry runs exceptionally deep, and the DeBartolo family is pretty much a sole benefactor of, or one of the huge benefactors of, Cardinal Mooney High School, and the family that owns the McDonald's and everything. The Cavalli family owned. They're Ursuline backers by and large. So it's if the two were combined from an athletic standpoint, oh dear God, would this be fun to watch?
Well, they wouldn't be Division III anymore.
No. And again, we'd heard whispers, and Catholics had heard whispers that when Bishop, the previous bishop, passed away, well, his last act would be to get the two Catholic schools combined into one, and he'd take the bullet and all the hatred and all the slings and arrows and whatnot. Well, that didn't happen, obviously. The new bishop is in. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, look, from a standpoint of rivalries, I get the reason why, Ursuline and Cardinal Mooney are always going to be separate. But from a business standpoint, and I'm not going to just include the parochial schools for a second. I also want to throw Youngstown State into this, and I'll explain why. If you put Mooney and Ursuline into one building and have one parochial school at a certain area, and you don't use Erie Street or Wick Avenue, Youngstown State will purchase that Wick Avenue lot that Ursuline has like that, because that's very close to the university, and that's prime real estate for Youngstown State, and that's more things for Youngstown State. Obviously, it would make sense for YSU to do that, but as you mentioned, I don't think it happens in my lifetime. I thought at some point it might. I don't think it happens in my lifetime.
And, while we're on the subject of rivalry, it was funny because last night, Springfield South Range is huge rivalries.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, the basketball. I remember just the basketball rivalry. And really, you look at the history, and on the hardwood, Springfield has a dramatic advantage in the basketball history in that rivalry. And you couldn't really get too, there wasn't a big crowd. But like the 5 seconds after that horn sounded in South Range 1, there was something about that gym, the fans and the players and everything. You could tell that how much that game still meant, even though they're not seeing each other every year like they used to be. That rivalry is still very much alive, and both of those teams wanted a huge piece of the other. And it was, especially because the football teams heard it all year, I wish these two teams played each other. Now they finally got on the court, and they at least a little bit chance to kind of prove themselves to each other. And man, it was really fun to see that rivalry kind of leak through that whole game.
Yeah, this was a fun game, and again, one of the reasons why I think John Cullen is one of the best coaches in this area is his specialty is shutting other teams down and playing lockdown defense. And it was on display last night. This is a Springfield team that scored in the low 70s against Crestview. And
they averaged 20 points a quarter, and they had 19 at the half.
Yeah. That's a dominating performance.
And this year, the Raiders have always played good defense. They just haven't had any offensive capability. And last night, they just had enough. They had enough offense. They didn't have amazing offense, but they had enough offense. And I think one of the big things is they had a freshman come off the bench after one of their starters got injured, and he scored 12 points off the bench as a freshman in that kind of game, and that really gave them a big boost.
Yeah. The other game that and again, it's not that our eyes aren't open, but good Lord, it just the talent that is on display every time the Struthers Wildcats play basketball is crazy. St. Thomas Aquinas, and I don't know if they're a 3 or a 4 this year. They always bounce around. The last couple of years, they were a 4, which turned into an interesting how do you do anytime they went to Struthers and appeared in the district semifinals. Wildcats played St. Thomas Aquinas last night, leading me to believe that St. Thomas Aquinas is a 4 because good teams are always going to want to schedule the team that is the home floor of where they're going to be playing in the tournament and the D4 tournament, unless the two tournaments are smashed together. The D4 tournament for Aquinas is the Fieldhouse. Well, they played the Wildcats. Struthers beat them by 20. And St. Thomas Aquinas, year in, year out, is a very solid basketball program. This is a 20-point beatdown. Last night, Last night, East Liverpool beat Crestview and scored 83 points.
I think it was, 85 to 72?
85-72. Yeah, it was 85 points. They got beat 88-44. Now, granted, it was only game one, and the cobwebs were still... But 44 points against this team? No. Struthers is a very special team. That's ooh, man, they're good.
Anytime you return almost everybody from a deep tournament run, and I know they lost to Cheney in a close game, but you return everyone, they all know that winning standard. That makes you so dangerous the next year because everyone kind of is so hungry to get back to that, and they all understand what it takes to do it.
I can't wait for the first of the year when Cheney comes back and starts playing basketball and they get into form, because can we just please have Struthers play Cheney 3 times this year and let's just see some great basketball, because I think that's what you'd see if those two teams play each other.
Welcome back to the weekly Struthers versus Cheney game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, YSN's coverage of the 99th meeting between Struthers and Cheney. Yeah, that's fine by me.
We also, Canfield lost a heartbreaker to Dover 55-53, and that's one of those games where Canfield's been struggling and they had some chances to win, and unfortunately for them, they just couldn't pull it together and make plays down the stretch. But
they're going to be
okay.
Getting
better. They're getting better. They're going to be okay.
They're going to be okay. And by tournament time, that is a team I would not want to play in any way, shape, or form.
It's just
because they're going to be ready.
It's tough because they're Division I and they're a small Division I, and that.
No, Canfield's not 1. They're 2.
Okay, I'm thinking girls.
Yeah, girls are 1.
Girls are 1. Boys are 2. My bad.
No, that's.
It's tough for the girls because they are Division
I.
I.
Absolutely, it is.
And they are the smallest Division I team in the state, and it's just. That Division I bracket is just a gauntlet.
Yeah. We get 2 boys basketball games on the network tonight. Sebring is home to Jackson Milton. Trojans, they're off to a very rough start, which you don't hear that very often in basketball.
No, but their numbers are down.
Yeah.
It's hard to do a lot when you don't have depth.
Yeah. They're playing Jackson Milton. JV started 5:30. Game time at 7 o'clock.
It's funny that the girls and the boys are both playing each other tonight. Sebring and Jackson Milton playing the varsity only at 5:30, and then the boys are playing each other as well.
Yep.
Which I think the girls are at Sebring and the boys are at Jackson Milton, if I'm not mistaken.
No, actually,
other way around.
Yeah, well, they're saying both of them are playing. So it's varsity only for girls and varsity only for boys.
Maybe it's a doubleheader.
Yeah, I'm now looking at this. It has to be. Because you've got the Sebring girls playing Jackson Milton varsity only at 5:30. This makes sense. Sebring playing Jackson Milton boys varsity only. Ron, read the script. Read the room, Ron. Come on.
I always like those boy-girls doubleheaders because in a normal world where we are allowed to go to the games, the girls would get that boys because people would come for the girls' game just because the boys were right after. So you'd get that boys' atmosphere, and a lot of fans would get the exposure of the girls' programs, and
honestly,
it was always fun to have those boys-girls doubleheaders.
Honestly, I have no problem with that. And if you want to schedule JV games, girls play
Usually,
first and then the boys play.
In that setting, when I've seen it happen, the JVs play like Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Like a football.
Yeah.
They'll just play Saturday morning at 10 at whatever place.
I got no problems with that. I mean, you would have a bigger gate.
Oh.
I think you'd have a much bigger gate for
because
for the
then
two.
You'd have the normal girls basketball fans, but then the boys basketball fans wouldn't just show up at 7. They'd probably show up.
Oh,
at
they'd show
5:30.
up. Absolutely.
And you'd have a big packed gym for both games.
Now that you've opened up Pandora's box for a second, can we kind of munch on this one for a little bit?
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense financially, and let's be honest, money rules a lot of stuff, including a certain five-letter has an O and an A and an HSA in between the O and the A, where they care an awful lot about. Yeah, they care an awful lot about Benjamins and Hamiltons and Lincolns and Washingtons, but neither here nor there.
I don't think they care about the Washingtons. I mean, the $1 bills are just like. They care about the Benjamins.
Listen, if somebody wants to throw a few $1 bills at me, I'm fine with that.
I think Dwayne Haskins does.
Well. Wow. Bazing. But not here because we don't have the poll for Festivus. So it's all about the poll for Festivus. So Dwayne Haskins, you're a no-show. Kind of like your career in Washington, you're a no-show. All right, 330-886-0813. What an asshole. Good Lord.
Your coach
has cancer, and you're gonna go around and do stuff like that. What an idiot. Good God.
You can't fix stupid sometimes.
Okay. So if I'm an AD, especially in a smaller school, I mean, we all know the smaller schools. My alma mater is a smaller school. I'm wearing the gear. So if I'm an AD at Leetonia, I'll use my alma mater as an example. I'm going to be somewhat tempted, especially if my girls' team is having as good a year as Leetonia is.
Exactly.
I'm going to be somewhat tempted to sit here and say, you know what? Instead of having the girls' JV team play first, and then the girls' varsity team plays first, and we only get the ancillary girls' parents of the teams and whatnot. In a perfect world, let's all preface this first. Pre-COVID,
and hopefully
pre-COVID perfect world. I would really be tempted to say, hey, you know what, reserves. You're going to play on Saturdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and we'll let you guys do that. But come Tuesday and Friday, I'm going to smack my girls' varsity team and put it right up against the boys' varsity team, and I'm going to let my two top shelf, top stage basketball programs shine on what is normally a boys' night, because I want to get the most bang for my buck from these two teams.
You don't even have to do it every night. You could have like 3 or 4 of them a year where you have a Friday night and it's going to be a girls and boys doubleheader. And I don't see why more schools don't do that, to be honest.
Well,
Crestview used to do it a lot.
And again, if you have a really, really good basketball program, I'm doing it more than 2 or 3 times a year. I'm going to be doing this practically the entire home schedule because I want a lot of bang for my buck in terms of getting people into the seats and whatnot. Now, having said that, again, this is a post-COVID or pre-COVID world where you can do this. Now, no, not so much.
Not so much. Well, Sebring's doing it, so you can do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
And they're going to clear out the girls' game, I bet, and they'll let the boys' parents in.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Salem Holiday Classic, Poland will be taking on Salem. We talked a little bit about this.
One team's really fast, likes to run, like to be transition, and Salem's more bruising inside. They have a lot of size, and they have a couple players that can dunk. So it'll be really fun to see a little bit of contrasting styles. I think Poland might have the best transition game. I know you saw a really good one, too, at East Liverpool.
Yeah.
But
Coach Grisdale's got a...
Poland can run like no one I've seen, and I haven't seen East Liverpool yet. So.
One of the things I love about Coach Grisdale, he doesn't just rely on, okay, this is my formula, it works, and everyone's going to have to stick to my formula.
One of the more seasoned coaches.
Exactly. He doesn't just sit here and go, hey, we're just going to do it my way, and that's the end of that.
Right.
No, I got a guy that can shoot a 3. I got a guy that's much better in a half-court situation, and he's 6'8". Oh, well, let me stop running here, and let me go into a half-court and take advantage of this.
For example, just 2 years ago, they played a lot differently than they do now because they had Braden O'Shaughnessy, who could go off on a heartbeat.
Yeah.
They also had Michael Kugris, who could go off on a heartbeat shooting-wise. So they didn't rely on necessarily the running and the transition. They wanted to set picks and set half-court screens and get shooters open because they had the shooters to kill you.
No doubt. All right, let's go to Emmanuel here real quick. Emmanuel, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up?
Well, my weight, my blood pressure, and my bills, all those things are up.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is this, right? I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, but I'm going to throw something on the table, too, since you're chewing on something.
All right.
It seems to me that when YSU does a doubleheader, they lose money. When the women in it quit.
Yeah, pre-COVID, you had certain folks that would go and watch the women play, and then you'd have more people watching the men play. I don't know if you lost money. That's something that I'd have to ask Ron Strollo about.
Because I know the last couple of years, Harding has had a very good player, and they've been winning a lot of games, and we've been having a pretty good crowd watching the women's game.
Oh yeah, no, the Harding girls are solid, and that's one of the things that we're missing with Trumbull County sports.
The Warren Harding girls might be one of the better teams in the area, period, and they're Division I, I believe. So they'll have. That's another thing for Canfield to have to deal with. So. Oh, man.
So what do you guys think? Or well, we got to think on it and come back next year with the answer. But it seems to me if it was a money making prospect, I believe they'd be doing it. What do you think?
Well, I think that you can get some money in the post-COVID or pre-COVID world. I mean, again, everyone's paying one admission for 2 games, and not everyone goes to see, the girls, and then they're gonna, and then they. Fans of the boys team don't necessarily go see the girls team, but if they have the girls varsity team before the boys varsity game, I think you will get some more people that are going to hang around and watch the girls game, much like you're going to have the girls people that say, wait a second, oh, we're a fan of girls basketball, but I want to see this boys game as well. So they're going to be inclined to go to this game knowing that one fee equals 2 varsity games. You're going to get a little more bang for your buck out of this.
Well, I'm just wondering what the actual numbers are. I might have to do some homework and check into that. Or if my buddies listen, he probably would know.
There are programs. I mean, it does happen in Ohio and a little bit in Western PA that they get better attendance for their girls programs than they do their guys.
Yeah.
Well, Ohio, the state of Ohio, I'm going to say this, right? And I believe it's my opinion. I have to get some facts to back it up. But I think the state of Ohio came late to the game when other states were playing more and better female sports. It took a while for Ohio State to have a good women's team, but Tennessee had one for a long time. You know what I mean?
Tennessee put women's sports on the map. I mean,
yeah, they certainly did. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Back in the day, Old Dominion was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But when someone like Tennessee does it, then all of a sudden the national coverage starts coming. And Pat Summitt did such a good job getting women's basketball on TV, and you see it now. The court's named after Pat Summitt, and the boys play on the girls' court. It's one of those things. I mean, the Lady Vol logo is on the court, not the Power T.
Well, and to Anthony's point, and to your point, Emmanuel, yeah, Old Dominion started it. I mean, Jackie Kenny, who is arguably the greatest player to ever come out of South Range High School, was on scholarship to attend Old Dominion, and back then, Old Dominion was the cat's meow. They were the gold standard.
I think she got offered Tennessee too.
Yeah. So, but then here comes Tennessee, and Tennessee said, "Okay, we're going to take this mantle of yours, and we're going to raise it about 5 feet." Then UConn came around and said, "Okay, with all due respect to you, Coach Summitt, Gino Auriemma, who I think is a little squirrely, but
what UConn did is they gave Tennessee a rival, and that always makes sports more interesting.
And between the two, they upped the ante even more and raised the ceiling even more. So now the Notre Dames of the world, the Baylors of the world, the Stanfords of the world, now they're all playing in this nice umbrella. The ceiling is really high, courtesy of the forefathers, Old Dominion, Tennessee, and UConn, the 3 gold standards that brought that ceiling to where it is now. And now you're seeing perhaps the golden age of women's basketball.
And all those programs you mentioned have historically good coaches. I mean, Tara Vanderveer in Stanford, Kim Mulkey in Baylor, Dawn Staley now doing her thing at South Carolina.
Yep.
I mean, the coaching in women's basketball now has reached
it's gotten a
legendary
whole lot
status.
better. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question, okay? I want to hear both of you guys' opinion. I think women's college basketball is changing a little bit, and I don't think it's changing for the better. The thing that I love the most about college basketball, women's basketball, was the fundamentals. But now that they're dunking and stuff, the game is changing a little bit. Now, what do you think about that?
There's really not. There might be one or
Remember
two.
Baylor?
Yeah, Brittany Griner could dunk, but then I think Candace Parker could back in 2010, and when she played for Tennessee. There's still not too many people that can just play above the rim like those two could. I still think it's very fundamental because you don't have a lot of women's basketball teams in college that can rely strictly on just we're more talented than you and we're going to play isolation and beat you off the dribble. They have to run set plays and run them to perfection to really get a good offense going. Even the UConns, I mean, you watch a UConn game, and even though their talent is off the charts, they're running fundamentally sound offensive sets, which is something you don't see from the best teams in men's college basketball. All the time. You do sometimes.
But it's more technologically sound. It's more fundamentally sound. The women's game is far more fundamentally sound than the guys' game. But the guys' game's artistry.
Because it has to be. It has to be.
And the artistry of the guys' game is far more advanced.
Right.
And based on the fact that the guys are bigger, faster, stronger, the artistic portion of the game, the rhythm and the flow of basketball is far more advanced from the guys. But the fundamental game for the women, if you're into basketball fundamentals, and that's one of the reasons why I love watching women's basketball, because I'm a stickler for fundamentals, that's one of the reasons why I love women's basketball, because the fundamentals are so much more prevalent in that game than they are in the guys' game.
Well, I couldn't have said it better than you guys. But once again, I want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, guys. So you're coming back when?
Monday. Yeah,
well, I won't be here. I'll be calling games all day, but I'll call in.
Okay. Because you've been on fire, and you still on fire, man. I don't know. Maybe ate some Wheaties or something. You got a new girlfriend or something?
No. See, we're trying to fix him up with someone. I'm just, trying to fix him up with someone.
I can't ever get it because Scotty's always taking him.
Well, he's got listen. Women love the faster wheelchair.
Right.
So he's getting all the ladies.
Scotty's too hotty, man.
Yeah. Well, he's.
Listen, the bottom line is this, right? Me, Ronnie, and the rest of us been on that torture rack. It's time for you to get on there, man.
All right.
You guys have a nice day.
Yeah, well, listen. I don't know about you, Emmanuel, but I'm in the heap wrap now. I'm in the scrap heap because people look at me and they say you're a 3-bagger. I'm like, what? And so you got to put a bag on my head in case the bag on your head breaks, and then I got to get a third bag just in case something wrong with the second bag. So there you go.
Well, you're doing better than me, Ron, because I'm just a memory, man. You guys have a nice day. Later.
See you, man. 330-886-0813. Can't top that. All right, we're back in a bit. Stick around.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back as we close up shop on this Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. So we won't have a show again until Monday. So obviously we got to get our Christmas list in and our sports Christmas list in. So Anthony, I'm going to start with you with your teams. Give me a short Christmas list for your favorite sports teams.
Oh, well, Kansas City, it's just... Right now, it's I hate to sound like arrogant, but it's Super Bowl or bust. I mean, the way they're playing and the fact that they're AFC favorites and Super Bowl or bust for Kansas City. Georgia Tech basketball, they look strong. I mean, they beat Kentucky. They beat they played pretty well against Florida State. And it was funny when we were watching them against Florida State. Their Georgia Tech's tallest person was 6'9", and Florida State's point guard was 6'9".
Ooh.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I just wins. Give me wins. Give me no COVID cancellations.
There you go.
And by the time we'll get back and we'll be almost ready for every basketball team to start back up.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna piggyback on this. First and foremost, without any teams. No more COVID.
No more.
Let's at the first of the year and whatever.
Don't
my
wait.
Christmas wish is no more COVID. No more last minute cancellations. No more anything. I want all of our sports to be played the way it was played before this god awful virus came to light.
Hopefully, we don't wake up on New Year's Day and the phone says December 32nd.
Yeah, well, and hopefully we don't wake up to Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, or Notre Dame has a COVID outbreak, and our playoff semifinal games have been canceled. Now, speaking on to Notre Dame, Santa, if you're listening in the North Pole, can you
give us an offense?
Kind of make sure that Notre Dame doesn't get their ass kicked or embarrassed on TV. Look, if they don't win, Okay, but if they lose by a touchdown or a field goal, okay. I just don't want to see a 40-point loss or a 30-point loss or a 27-point loss. I don't want to see any more embarrassment. So for Notre Dame, please let me have a solid, really good game so people can stop saying that Notre Dame sucks when the bright lights are on, because I kind of agree with them, but I don't want to agree with them anymore. For the Indians, give me a name that everyone's going to be happy with, and more importantly, can I have $400 million so we can sign Lindor and have that fan base happy?
Can I?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. For the Bills, I'm not going to be greedy like my partner is, because he's already seen a Super Bowl. Look, I know it's baby steps with my team. I love my team, and I'd love to have my team in the Super Bowl. But the baby steps for me is I want a chance to play in the AFC title game, preferably against my partner's team, but any team.
That'd be a fun running point week, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, we'll dueling jerseys the whole freaking week. But I want Buffalo to win 2 playoff games.
Okay. Notre Dame's history in BCS or New Year's Six
I don't
Bowl
need to hear this, please.
since 1998.
Oh God.
Let's just break that, because this is
this is embarrassing.
2000 against
Yes.
Oregon State.
Yes.
41-9.
Yes, 32-point loss.
2005 against Ohio State. 34-20, 14.
And it was actually 21. Notre Dame scored a touchdown late to make it somewhat respectable.
2006 LSU, 41-14.
Yeah, 27 points. Yeah, keep kicking me in the balls.
2012 Alabama.
Yeah, I don't even hear the score. I already know it.
42-14.
Yeah, it was, and then it should have been 42-7. It was god awful.
2015 Ohio State, 44-28.
Yeah.
And then I think the worst one is Clemson in 2018 because it was 30-3. I mean,
well, but the asterisk that Brian Driscoll has said on so many occasions, there were guys open down the field.
Brian Driscoll cannot give asterisks because he was hard pressed. You are who you are.
No, I agree, but he flat out said that 30-3 game, there were guys open, not wide open, but open in the post, and Ian Book wouldn't throw the ball down the field. And he didn't throw the ball down the field again against Clemson this last time. So my Christmas wish is, please have a quarterback that throws the ball down the field so we can be competitive.
That's all that.
I don't want to see Notre Dame get destroyed.
That's what Florida did to go up and down the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Ian Book, show some freaking.
Call up Kyle Trask. Hey, can you come put on Notre Dame uniform?
Can you kidnap Book and put on the Notre Dame uniform?
Put one of those Star Wars things where they go around the corner, you hear a bunch of scuffling, and then
exactly.
Trask
and just put the equipment on where nobody knows who you are. You're going to put a stormtrooper on, and that's fine. We can paint it green and have a gold helmet instead of the white helmet. That's cool, no problem.
It has been a very tough New Year's 6 BCS history for my friend across the table.
Yeah, it's not good.
Georgia Tech's been in 1 Orange Bowl two Orange Bowls actually.
Yeah, but you guys
they're 1-1.
You guys don't get destroyed like Notre Dame does on a
1-1
yearly basis. So that's my Christmas wish for my 2 football teams, and then my baseball team is. And we haven't even mentioned the Cavaliers who start their season tonight. And let me leave everyone on this note. Here is the hottest of all hot takes: Cavaliers are going to be a playoff team this year. Boom.
Boom roasted.
7 or the 8 seed, probably the 8 seed. I love this town. The Bigs established. I love this backcourt that they have going on right now. And if they play Dylan Windler and Isaac Okoro together, holy crap, are people going to look at this and go, okay, yeah, this is nice. I just wish we didn't have COVID, because you'd have a jam-packed queue tonight, or whatever the hell it's called. What is it, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse? I think that's what it's called now. Yeah, All right. It's The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah. I'd love to see this game tonight. I think they'll win tonight, but as the season rolls along, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the Cavs going, boy, this is a good team.
Royals are going after Adam Wainwright, so maybe put him on my wish list too.
You already have the guy that has the best batting average at Kauffman Stadium among active players.
And most home runs.
Yeah, so You know,
other than Royals players.
yeah.
But
so
outside of Royals,
Santana's going to look good in a Royals uniform. He's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with 19 times a year because his on base percentage is just. I love
so
the
if
guy.
you could just add in Adam Wainwright to our pitching staff, that'd be.
Listen. Kansas City's already got my attention because you got some good players. Throw a couple of veterans. You already struck gold with Santana. He'll take care of the Latin American kids and the veteran players. Throw Wainwright in there to teach the young kids how to pitch.
Maybe get an extra outfielder to replace Alex Gordon. Not replace. You don't replace that.
No, but you can.
You don't replace.
Kansas City's going to be heard from.
You don't replace 8 Gold Gloves.
Yeah,
but get someone back.
Maybe not this year, but they're going to take a leap forward this year, and they're going to be heard from. This is a good team, and I said that in the early 2010s, and people thought I was out of their mind or out of my mind, and I said this team will go places.
And they did.
In the mid 2000 teens, this team's going to go places, and people thought I was nuts. Well, the world championship later, who's crazy now? Well, okay, I kind of am, but neither here nor there.
They develop players, they stuck with them.
That's it. That's it.
Do in your small market.
Merry Christmas, brother.
Merry Christmas to you.
And we're going to do this again on Monday. You're going to call in because you're going to be ass deep with high school basketball.
Yes.
And that's nothing wrong with that. Larry and I are going to be at Leetonia. Sporting the gear, baby.
I'll be at South Range. They got Mooney, so.
Yeah, that'll be a fun time.
It'll be fun.
Right, that's it for Running Point. No Power Hour. DJ's doing the Columbiana Ursuline game, which will be broadcast in a half an hour on ysnlive.com. Merry Christmas to everyone. Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy the holiday weekend.